from Gun Talk. Catch him Sundays right here on 580 KIDO. Not once, but twice, because we love Tom and we love the guns. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you, sir?
Not bad. I know you're at an undisclosed location in and around our area. What's it like to be around all the city folk, if you will?
It's, as we say, it's busy around here, but that's okay. There's a lot of activity. I like the vibe of the whole Boise area, Treasure Valley. It's fun to come down from the mountains now and then and see how real people live.
I would say that I think you're more of a real person than all of us down here, chasing the crumbs, if you will, sir.
That's all right. Yeah, but, it's the reality is, and I know that's what we need to talk about today. The reality is the reality. You got to face up to it. And, and Jordan Salinas did exactly that in Twin Falls.
Well, Tom, as someone who, and we love having you live on Sundays, you've covered a lot of these incidents, and you handle some of these things sometimes in real time. When we're talking about life and death situations, it's not a radio show to you. It's actually defining what happens when bad things happen to good people.
It's, Kevin, it's one of the things that I've studied this for a long time, and I've talked to lots of people in this world, of the people who train, the people who have been in a number of gunfights, not just one, but more than one gunfight, people who work this all the time. And people, each time something like this happens in Twin Falls, people have all these opinions, and then they go about their lives, and they don't change anything they do. And I think sometimes people think that hope is some sort of a plan. I hope that never happens to me. Oh, he's over there doing something. I hope he doesn't come over here. Oh, he's pointing the gun at me. I hope he doesn't shoot me. I'm sorry, hope will get you killed. You've got to do something more than hope. You've got to change your life if you want to be prepared. And I get it. Some people say, well, if I do that, then I have to acknowledge that there's bad things out there, and that's scary, and I don't want to be in that world where there's scary stuff. I'm sorry, you're in that world anyway. The only choice you have to make is, are you going to prepare for it, or are you just going to go along and hope it never happens?
Indeed, and if it could happen in and out in Twin Falls, Tom, as you detail all the time, it happens everywhere. Evil
is everywhere. Crazy is everywhere. And people say, well, I live in a safe part of town. No, you don't. Evil can come wherever. Evil travels. Crazy travels. It pops up, and you go into convenience stores. You go around. You never know when you walk in the door of that convenience store what's going on. And the question is, what are you prepared to do? What have you done in your life to say, I am going to make it home to my kids? It's not like, because look, here's the thing people don't understand. If something happens to you, it happens to your family. If something happens to you, it happens to your children. So protecting yourself is, in fact, protecting your family, not to mention the fact that your family may be with you. And there are a lot of people who are saying, well, I'm going to buy a gun. I'm going to do this. Well, okay, but there's 100 or 1,000 things beyond that. Buying a gun is like saying, I'm going to buy a fire extinguisher and never know how to use it. No, you got to go further than that.
Tom Grisham joining us from Gun Talk right here on 580 KIDO. So, Tom, I know you've broken this down a million times. Can you take us through your thoughts on what happened in Twin Falls, sir, and the very disturbing video that we saw?
Absolutely. And there's nothing unusual about it. That's the thing. For people who study this kind of thing, mass shooters, this thing went exactly the way they always go. You got this lone person who wants to kill people. And let's make no mistake about it. People say, well, what were his motivations? I don't care. Don't care. Immaterial. He was there to kill people. And he's going to kill people until somebody stops him from killing people. So time and time again, this is how it happens. He's killing people or shooting people, and then somebody with a gun shows up and throws bullets his way, and the killing stops at that point. The moment bullets fly toward him, the killing stops. And people say, well, Jordan didn't kill him. Well, no, it didn't have to. He stopped the killing. And if this happens all the time, the bad guy ends up killing himself. It's a suicide mission. They plan to die. And our goal is to get them to that point as quickly as possible. It's called the stopwatch of death. The longer it goes on, the more people die. If you wait until the police are called and they show up, a number of people will die until they get there. Or someone at the scene, or in this case, two someones, respond and say, no, not on my watch, not today, not in my town. I am not going to let you do this anymore. And they start throwing bullets back at him. The killing stops at that point.
Yeah, just like you described, and we could go into why the killers kill. But Tom, when you took a look at this guy, he seemed to be targeting Teslas, and I'm just saying this out of ignorance, just because, like everyone else, I've seen the videos. But just here you are, you're at In-N-Out, just opened up, Twin Falls, Idaho. You're charging your EV vehicle, and this 24-year-old kid comes by with a gun, with a rifle, and just starts opening up. Again, something you'd see in a movie, but this is real life.
It is, and I would just caution people against trying to figure out, oh, well, he was targeting Teslas. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If he had said, I'm going to try to find left-handed people, who cares? He's killing people. It's a distraction, and thinking about those kind of things gets you off of the point where you need to be, which is, I will prepare for this. I mean, as I'm talking today, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm wearing a gun, I'm wearing 2 extra magazines, I've got a tourniquet in my pocket, I've got a flashlight in my pocket, and I hope that I never use it. I hope I go my entire life and never use this stuff. But if I need it, I have it, and I know I can make the shot because I practice this all the time. I want to never have to do it. But at the same time, what would be even worse would be needing it and not having taken the steps to prepare to help myself, my family, and maybe a bystander.
Well, we talked to our friend Greg Pruitt from the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and he's talked to folks that own the gun store. Maybe there's more than one in Twin Falls. And you know what happens, Tom, as you described. They're buying weapons, they're buying training, but they are buying training, which, as you alluded to, you have to learn how to train. And you talk about that on Gun Talk all the time.
Training is vitally important. Training is not the same as going out and practicing. I want to make sure everybody understands that. Training involves an instructor. Training is getting instruction in a class, and because there's so many things you don't know. And I'm going to throw out one thought, and it may seem self-serving, but go on YouTube and look up First Person Defender. That is our show. We've been doing this for 17 years. We put people into self-defense situations using simunitions, force-on-force training it's called. And when you watch these shows, and they're very short, they're about 12, 15 minutes each, you come away with, wow, I never thought of that. Well, good, because it's a lot better to see this in these simulations and see what real people do when they're confronted like this than to try to figure it out in the middle of an attack. And after you watch these and you watch them over and over again, they're really interesting and fascinating. You come away with, wow, okay, I'll do that. I never would have thought of that, but that's a really smart way to handle that. Oh, that guy could have avoided that situation, because avoiding, as they say, declining the gunfight is always a good thing. It's called First Person Defenders on YouTube.
First Person Defenders on YouTube. We'll do our very best to remind people of that throughout the morning. Tom Grisham, we continue on. This has been unusual because people have been praising Jordan and the off-duty police officer. Usually we don't get that in the media.
Well, we don't. Of course, only some of the media is covering it. Some of them are going to ignore it because they really hate the idea of a good guy with a gun. They don't want the narrative to be out there. And just so people know, I mean, I know you know this, people in America use guns successfully in self-defense 2 to 3 million times a year. And that has been documented over and over again. 2 to 3 million times a year, people in America use guns in self-defense. Most of the time, they don't have to pull the trigger at all. Not that you need to use a gun to try to scare people off. That's a bad idea. But self-defense with guns simply works. But it doesn't work to just buy the gun and say it's a magic talisman that's going to make evil go away. It's not. And honestly, frankly, if you want to buy a gun and you don't want to practice with it, don't want to train with it, please don't buy a gun. And people always get surprised. They say, well, you're the gun guy. Yeah, I know. But if you're not going to practice and be good and be safe with it, please don't buy a gun. Get locks, get a big dog, get alarms, get the rest of the stuff. But you may be more of a hazard to yourself and to others if you don't really know how to use a gun.
Tom Grisham joining us here. Tom, getting back to the right type of training, obviously Jordan had a lot of training, a lot of videos of him training, and so the story goes that he saw the shooting or was impacted by the shooting at the Boise Town Square Mall and vowed never to be a victim that way. He put a lot of time in.
I like that mindset of I am not going to be a victim. And then beyond that, then we call it the sheepdog mentality, which is then I will protect other people. But it requires, as Jordan did, it requires a real commitment. It requires a commitment to go take classes. And classes, yes, you learn to shoot, but then you move to the next level, which is can you shoot and move? Can you shoot, move, and communicate? Can you move through people? Do you know how to move through a house or a building? And then there are certain things you do. And every time you get this training, you go, wow, I didn't realize that. I never thought of that. And the corollary to that is I would have done it wrong, and I would have probably gotten myself hurt or killed if I didn't know what I was doing.
You know, I go back to what you just said, and it's very common sense about don't buy a gun if you're not going to use it. Don't think that you can scare somebody off with a gun, because that usually ends up on the wrong end for the person that bought the gun.
Yeah, and look, I applaud anybody who says I'm going to start this journey by buying a gun. Good on you. But it's a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. And shooting is a perishable skill. You can't just say, I took a class 3 years ago, because the day after the class, you're not as good. And the day after that, you're not as good. And your skills start to perish. You need to go back and do it. It's a recurrent thing. Kevin, this is more than just a thing you do. It becomes a serious lifestyle. It defines who you are. I am the prepared person. I am going to take care of my family. No one is going to hurt me, or at least I'm going to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen. And once you do that, it's very interesting what happens. You start to be a lot more observant. You see more interesting things. You go into a restaurant and you go, okay, where are the exits? Well, there's one there, there's one there. Oh, yeah, we could also exit through the kitchen. And you tell your family, if I get up and say, let's go right now, no one says, oh, gee, what are you talking about? I haven't finished my meal. We haven't paid for the... No. If I say, get up and follow me right now, we're going because I saw something, and we're going out through the kitchen because the problem is in the front. We'll come back and pay the bill later. Those are the kind of things that people go, I never thought of that. Well, yeah, those are the kind of things that let you not be there when the bad thing happens.
Tom, do you think more bad things are going to happen? I know that's an open-ended question.
They're going to happen today and tomorrow and the next day, and it's never going to stop because evil has never not been on this earth. And we got, honestly, and I will tell you, we got a lot more crazy people walking the streets because some 40 years ago we decided we were not going to put them in institutions. We're also not going to give them the help that they need. So we're not doing them any good, and we're not doing society any good. And we've got an awful lot of undiagnosed mental illness walking the streets. And while I feel for people who are, need help, at the same time, I'm not going to let that dissuade me from protecting myself and my family. And sometimes the only way to stop them is what Jordan did. You've got to be willing to throw bullets at them. And it is, in fact, and I want people to understand, it's a time issue. Something like this, if Jordan hadn't been there and the officer had not been there, they would have had to wait until somebody comes with guns, because they always say this problem. I love it when people say, well, violence never solved anything. Yeah, actually, violence solves an awful lot of things. In this case, it solved the murders that were taking place. The only question is, how long do you want the violence to go on, from the killing to go on, before you stop it with somebody with a gun? I do not care what kind of clothes the person's wearing who stops it. The point of that being, he or she does not need to be wearing a uniform. It could be me, it could be you, it could be her, it could be anybody else who is there and who is willing and is prepared and can stop the killing. This is going to happen over and over again. And to think it's not, or to hope that it's not, is somewhat childish.
Tom, we go back to the psychology of why somebody would snap. And again, just shooting unarmed people in their Teslas or in the in and out, and just doing so randomly. What do you make of again your reaction to the videos, seeing this perpetrator, and then And again, I know you're not a psychologist, but you know the psychology of this because you study it and you prepare for it and you train people. But, what causes these people to kill people and then take it the cowardly way out? You say it happens all the time, and you're right.
It's suicide. It's suicide, and somebody wants to go out in a blaze of glory, wants to be famous, wants people to remember their name. They think that they're small, that they're meaningless, their life doesn't mean anything. They study Dillon and Klebold. They study the mass killers. They study school shooters. They want to run and you read their writings, they want to run the body count up. They want to be noticed. They want somebody to know their names. And that's why I will never, ever on the air use the name of these mass killers, because that's what they want. And beyond that, it's not just that's what they want. When we talk about them and give out their name, we encourage other people to do the same thing. They say, oh, well, he became famous. People know his name. I will now become famous as I go out. Let's not do that. Let's not use those people's names. Let's just ignore them and let them drift into obscurity. And let's try not to encourage other people. But, yeah, as far as the psychology, I honestly, Kevin, I try not to get too far into that. I focus on what can I personally do. I'll let society worry about society. But every single day, my goal is to get through the day unharmed so that nobody hurts me or my family. And I take steps to do that. I mean, I have fire extinguishers. I'm amazed at how many people don't even have fire extinguishers. You think, really? What's your plan? And they go, huh? No plan at all. It's like we're just going to drift through life. I don't know. Holy cow. I mean, that for me, fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to go through life.
Tom Grisham, anything else you'd like to share with us? We'd love to get that YouTube, that website one more time.
Yeah, it's called First Person Defender, and we've been doing it for 17 years. And you watch people in self-defense situations, and once you watch about 3 of these episodes, you say, hey, honey, come over here, look at this. We need to watch this. Called First Person Defender. The takeaway on this, my final thing would be, make the commitment to not be a victim, and hoping that you're not going to be a victim is not the solution. And wondering why people shoot other people is a waste of time. It's a waste of mental effort. Use that effort to say, I am going to do the things it takes to become harder to hurt. And, not impossible, and there's no guarantees any given day, but you do what you can to make it harder for somebody to hurt you.
Tom, anything else you'd like to share? I just love hearing your voice, bro. And I love your commitment to radio.
The other thing I would offer is this. Be careful about all your buddies, friends who recommend a particular type of gun for you to get. About 9 times out of 10, it's the wrong advice. If you can get to a range where you can rent guns, try different ones. If you're brand new to it, say, hey, I need to take a class. I need to try some guns. Maybe you hire an instructor for a one-on-one for an hour, and I want to try 3 or 4 different guns. Try different ones, and you'll find the one that works for you. Because oftentimes the gun that the clerk behind the counter tells you that's what you need is not the one you need. And that especially applies to women. For some weird reason, the clerks behind the gun store counter want to recommend small guns for women. Small guns are hard to shoot. Small guns are unpleasant to shoot. And they're generally the wrong gun. They feel good in the hand at first, but when you go shoot them, you go, ow, I don't like that. Small guns are experts' guns. So go get some instruction, try some different guns. And, your buddy who's been shooting all his life, yeah, he might know something, but he might not.
How can we get a hold of you, Tom?
Oh, I'm easy to find. Guntalk.com for all the stuff we do. We have literally thousands of videos online. We're putting them out all the time. Over on Facebook, look for Gun Talk. And obviously, you can, on KIDO, you can catch me on Sundays. We're live, and people call in all the time. If you got a question or a comment, or if you disagree with me, call. Let's talk about it.
Well, no, we run you live. We can't get enough of you, so we run you again. So it's the double billing of Gun Talk. So.
You're going to use me up like a rented mule. There you go. I like it.
Well, enjoy your time. And Tom, we always appreciate you being so gracious with us, sir.
Anytime, and I just encourage people, please, please, please make the commitment to be safer, and that requires a change in your lifestyle. It requires time, and yes, it requires money. And I always tell people, you really show the world what you think is important by what you put your time and your money into. The rest of it is just noise.
Tom Grisham, enjoy your time in Boise, sir. Thank you, sir.
We'll do. Anytime, Kevin.
Our great friend Tom Grisham, Gun Talk. Catch him on Sundays right here on 580 KIDO. Talking about, what is it? He wants to get a WNBA team. We call it the Nashville Balls. Is that correct? And I didn't get the whole gist of it because, like you, I can't listen to everything. And I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there wondering, what is he talking about? And apparently, our friend Eric on Twitter posted what Clay is up to. Clay Travis for the White Girls, the movie Win. 2026 going to be a heck of a ride. All type of wild rubber meeting road. So Clay Travis put on Twitter yesterday, I'm not kidding about this. I am prepared to buy a WNBA franchise and locate them in Nashville. I think he was going to call them the Nashville Balls. I pledge to have a 100% trans team, all men who identify as women. I can also employ a 100% trans coaching staff. Sometimes you just need a laugh, and I can't believe that with Clay Travis. So let's see. I'm up for, and Clay has the money to do this. He sold Outkick. He's national radio, national TV. One of the things when Clay Travis was on sports is half the time he was talking about business. And if you ever catch him with Buck, it's almost like when you can get Governor Little in an unguarded moment. Governor Little will talk business nonstop, and Clay is just obsessed with business. Important announcement, I'm upping my offer $10 million for a head-to-head basketball game between the defending WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces and a boys high school state title team of my choice. If the Aces beat my team, I will give them $10 million. Now, by the way, it's interesting when he's talking about this. People are saying that, you know, the battle of the sexes and all sorts of things when Billie Jean King beat Bobby, whatever his name was, and on and on and on. But my goodness gracious, that's why you got to listen to that show. And I'm a traditional talk guy. I love traditional talk, and I guess you would say orthodox talk radio, but those guys are going to grow into that role year after year. And you know, I'm getting ready to do a big speech today in Nampa, and like a lot of people, I'm always fixated on what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And I don't want to really talk about myself. I want to bring value to these people, but there's a point in life, and the young people, to our young friends, I'm sorry about this, but it only happens to you once you get older. You have to get comfortable with that gunslinger that's a little faster, that person that's a little quicker, or someone that does what you do, but they do it differently. Different doesn't mean bad. And when we put that show on, 4 years ago, I put my neck on the line for it, simply because it may not be my cup of tea, but it appeals to so many people. And you have Clay, who, again, an attorney, he talks too much about the SEC, but that's what those people do down there. And then you have Buck on the opposite end. And it's quite a great show. But I'm listening to this and go, what the heck is he talking about? And Buck, who knows nothing about sports, is going, yeah, we should do this. And anyway, talk about taking an issue and really owning it, if you will, and doing it in a very funny way, which we all know humor is the best way to reach people. Anyway, here we are trying to find something humorous. I want to thank Tom Grisham. Dude, that guy is so amazing. Tom goes back to the founding of ESPN and the American Sportsman, where he and his dad created a TV show about hunting, fishing, guns and ammo. Huge background in the written word. And now he's doing radio and been doing radio for years. His son runs the digital empire. Really you don't even have to like guns to listen to that show, but it's live on Sundays, and more often than not, he's covering the big issues and doing it from a gun owner's perspective. And like I said, I wrote that down on YouTube, First Person Defender. And he's got 14 seasons of this thing, 231 videos. So First Person Defender there on YouTube. We'll continue to give that out. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This portion of the program, what did Kevin Miller write about? Courtesy of Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking, call Beacon today, whether we're talking about HVAC, electrical, plumbing, all your needs, beaconplumbing.com. We'll tell you about them more in a minute. But Idaho gas price is now 10th highest in the nation, and a lot of people are bagging on the president, saying that he's to blame for all this. We'll get into that. And more of our continuing coverage, because this is the story that matters, more on Jordan Salinas, who stopped the Twin Falls shooter, along with that off-duty police officer and all those first responders that did their very, very best to get into that situation. And if you're a sports person or a business person, why Boise could be getting a pro football team, a spring pro football team, and why that makes sense for Boise State. I don't know if it makes sense for the UFL. Those stories and more on our website. And like I said, brought to you by our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Do appreciate Beacon Plumbing. They are locally owned. When you call them, you speak to somebody here in Idaho, whether it's septic, HVAC, electrical, gas, you name it, they take care of you. Their number, 974-5031. Book your service today. And do what we did. Not only did we call them when, God rest her soul, my mother-in-law Toots passed away, but before that, her water heater went out, right? So we called Beacon, went over there. They took care of it, new water heater. And, some of us are still on our original water heater. So when that goes, don't get mad. Call Beacon Plumbing, 974-5031. Or since we have had a very, very challenging heat-filled summer, that's a strain on the HVAC, bro. Want to make sure if you haven't had that serviced, be preventative. Heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical. Quit freaking, call Beacon today and get that serviced. We'll get ours serviced this week. We'll tell you about that as well. Beaconplumbing.com. And again, 974-5031. Please tell them you heard it on the Kevin Miller program. Coming up next, more of your thoughts on the Twin Falls shooting and what Tom Gresham pointed out to us. Are you prepared? Do you go over things, or do you just kind of flop in a restaurant? All that and more next. Kevin Miller, thank you for joining us. Let's get you to work safely and on time at Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. Catch him on Sundays right here at 580 KIDO. And don't forget, if you're looking for more information, First Person Defender on YouTube. That's what Tom recommends. We'll take more of your calls, obviously, on another day of smoky skies in southwest Idaho. We hope and pray that our friends in Weiser are okay. In addition to that, they've arrested the guy that started the fires in Spokane, which, what devastating, what happened to that city. And just thousands of people without a home now because of some idiot. Let's go to Idaho Mike, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Idaho Mike actually got a reference yesterday from Denny in Nampa concerning the Dairy Queen incident that happened to you. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. The 27th of August, it'll be a year since we had our fun day at Dairy Queen. But, Tom Grisham's great and all that stuff. But in the end, in this little journey of life, without a doubt, you are the first responder, okay? And you cannot underestimate the value of the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. And that's the bottom line I wanted to share with your listeners. And if you're not prepared, then hang on. So, I just want to make that shout out. And last night I was watching Fox News, and somewhere in your North Carolina place, they turned a guy loose with all kinds of rap sheet trouble, and in an hour and a half, he shot two people over a parking spot. And so he's back in the clink. These nut jobs are out there, and they're everywhere. So to not be prepared is on you, the way I see it.
Well, is it a sad day in America where that's what you have to do?
I think we were naive. I think it's always been there. What they say, Sodom and Gomorrah and all the stuff that goes with it, right? Guns are pretty easy to get, and they're really dangerous, And what I learned from the Dairy Queen: don't ever bring a knife to a gunfight, And it doesn't matter if the guy has a gun or a 2x4 with a 6-inch nail in it. They're there to do harm, and you have to protect yourself. And you got some great people on your program, and I know Brian is all in. If you don't protect
Brian's ready to go Brian's ready to go to the firing squad and sign up for that.
If he needs a Uber driver and a partner, I would carpool with him. Because I'm tired of this crap. And I'm done with the nice bullshit, right? I mean, these counselors that make the comment, this criminal has paid his dues, he's fine, he's good to go back. I think those people that suggest that need to sign an affidavit that if this guy does what the guy did in North Carolina, out for an hour and a half and shoots 2 other people, the people that turn him loose have to sign an affidavit that they're great with it. And if these people do, in fact, make another problem, then they get to go to jail. See that? Have a little accountability deal instead of all of a sudden your wisdom from your PhD, from your master's, and blah 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 in psychology. I tell you, it happens really fast, Kevin. Really fast. I mean, you're sitting there like those people in Twin Falls, and 1 second's perfect, the next second everything's going to hell, and you need to, like I said, hey, I'm a cop-loving guy, right? But in these quick things, it's just you, and to not be prepared is probably a big mistake, Since this happened to us at Dairy Queen, I think there's been 7 different deals, if my memory serves me right. So, all around here, right? So they're out there, and it's not funny, and it's real serious. That's what I do know. And very unimpressed with the judicial system. Very unimpressed with the judicial system, how it works. I believe the criminals probably got a better shot at having a good day than the victims, unfortunately. And I didn't know that either.
That's experience, right?
Yeah, but no, that Twin Falls deal, it just brought back those fond memories of Dairy Queen, and like I say, it happens real fast, and you to not be prepared, I'm sorry to say, is on you. Like Gresham said, right?
Gresham said, yes. Thank you, Idaho Mike. God bless you.
You too. Take care, Kevin. Appreciate you and your program. Thank you.
Thank you. In Twin Falls, the families have been identified of one of them of the In-N-Out employee killed in the Twin Falls shooting. They need your help to pay for the funeral. Well, that was an excellent tease that didn't go to the story. We'll get to that. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But that's the topic, and we want to thank Tom Gresham for starting us off today. Remember, you can catch him Sundays or go to Gun Talk on the internet and, listen. It's a great show. It's a wonderful show when we're talking about protecting yourself and the Second Amendment and what's going on across the country and everything else. We go back to this situation, though, in Twin Falls. And as Tom just told us, he says it's on us and what type of world you want to live in. And what I really liked is what he said is, if you're going to buy a gun, learn how to use it. And then after you learn how to use it, continue to train and not just, going and taking a class at the range. But we're very blessed in Idaho that we have a lot of people that are law enforcement, former law enforcement, that offer these training classes. And that's important, correct? when we're looking at this story of how to keep yourself safe. It's easier said than done, but I will tell you that, just waving a gun at somebody is not going to protect you, right? Sean Hannity today at 1 on 580 KIDO. Napa, Brian, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO.
Hey, Kevin, I appreciate Tom. I've learned a lot from him over the years, and I love a lot of your callers. I love what happened with the good guys in guns in Twin Falls, and let me explain why. Kevin, you knew me before I had my stroke, and I was brain dead for a little while, and I want to explain what happens when you die. You change because you feel what you really are without your body. You feel no pain. And also what changes when you come back is your BS meter is like highly enhanced, like psychopath, sociopath, narcissist. I mean, Kevin, I'll be honest with you. I got family that doesn't like me because I've changed so much. Because you come back and you realize all of the lies and the crap and the BS you've been putting up with all these years. And think about it, Kevin. You've died, and you're not scared of that anymore. I've already been through a ton of pain my entire life. So what's there to be scared of? Going to jail? I've already worked in a prison. Getting shot, I've already had guns pulled on me. I've already had more pain than most people can even comprehend. So you got to ask yourself, what's Brian's values? Well, my value is what I learned on the other side. This life is a test. I got to prove myself to God. And whatever I have to do that, I'm going to do. And I don't care if it offends a narcissist, a psychopath. And they're all over in every branch of government, in every organization. I've even got people in my own church kicked at me, Kevin. Do you think I care? No. I only care about one thing. God tells us, fear him. He doesn't say fear man or worry about other people's opinions. He says, you fear me. So that's what changed Brian. I think you know that, Kevin. You knew me before and you know me after. It's not that I'm a tough guy. I'm just done. I'm done with the games. And my BS meter is so refined, I can see it coming a mile away. And that comes with age, too. But it really changes you when you die. You're like, there's nothing to be scared of, Kevin. I feel sad for the families because I know what it's like to lose loved ones. My parents are all gone. I don't have any ancestors. I have a few aunts and uncles. I got siblings. I get it. We need to support the people that lost them. But I'm telling you, people, they're in a good place. I'm kind of jealous. So, I've told this to you before, but, to all the evil people out there, you should be really grateful that Brian believes in Jesus Christ. Because if I didn't, I'd be a heck of a lot worse because I'd have nothing to lose. Because I've already lost it and came back. And that's not bragging. That's just the reality of the situation. I applaud this guy that went against the shooter, even though he didn't hit him. I understand why he does it, because he saw something here in Boise that was similar, and one day he says, I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of everybody calling me a vigilante, and he just manned up and did it. Like, that's what we need in this country. We need a whole heck of a lot more of that. Like, of course, you're supposed to be moral, and there's supposed to be a higher power that directs you. But when it tells you to do something, you move. So that's what's changed about Brian. I'm not a tough guy. I'm a weak guy. I've got all kinds of physical issues. I'm just done with the game. I know who the devil is. I know how he manipulates people, and I don't care how much the alien calls in as though Jesus is just some hippie that didn't have children. My BS meter goes through the roof when he calls in. I still haven't gotten bitten, Kevin, by the way. Challenge is still effective. So, Tom's right. Practice. There was some mistakes made, and I'm not trying to beat on heroes, but they know what I'm talking about. Cops do this. They go back through the scenario, and they make a mental note of where they made mistakes, and they change. That's what being an Eagle Scout is. Be prepared. You remember that little goat on that cartoon? Be prepared. Be prepared. The lesson must be shared. Be prepared. He had all these horns for all these different reasons. That's all we're talking about. I love all the guys that manned up. There were 4, Kevin. 4 that I know of. That's what's different about Idaho. We were taught at a young age to suck it up and man up. And I'm going to tell people this, and they ain't going to like it. If one of my sons did this, I'm coming after him. That's what my dad told me. He said, "You're a Clark. You have a name, a family name to uphold. I expect you not to do anything to deter it." And I think God does the same thing. I'm related to God. He's my spiritual father. I have a name to hold up. It's about time we start doing that. Any questions?
No, thank you very much. God bless you, Brian.
Love you, Kevin.
Love you. Thank you. Let's go to Al in Ontario, who joins us now at 580 KIDO.
Good morning. I have to, give my little response to the fact that I think it was what Idaho Mike said that, evil is everywhere and it's always. Listen, we didn't have this type of thing back in my youth or my young adulthood. Nobody went out and shot anybody. That never happened. What is he talking about? We lived in a real nation. Okay, we didn't have an entire western United States on fire. Okay, we have massive 300,000 acre fire above us coming down from Weiser. We've got the Coleman fire coming out from the west, hundreds of thousands of acres. We've got hundreds of thousands of acres coming from the south. Okay, millions of acres are on fire in Oregon. And basically what we have is we have cotexes all over the United States. That's really the same mental framework as the governor of Oregon, Ms. Kotex. And these things are everywhere. Okay, we basically turned our nation into a nation that is not prepared for anything. We import tens and tens of millions of people, but look, the people don't understand. They just keep on voting people into office. When you take a look at the fire map of the West and you see all of these fires, look at Bomber Harris would have been proud. Okay, I mean, it's like, wow, incendiary devices all up and down the West Coast. Obviously, it's terrorism. There's no question about it. And nobody can say I'm wrong because you can't let 10, 15, 20 million people in this country. And then we have a war going on with Iran. Of course, it's terrorism. The countries, and then we're terrorized by the shooters in the United States because our entire legal system has gone totally to the Marxist feminists. Okay, they let these people out of prison. There's no real discipline in this country, and so there's no controlling these nutcases because it's really society's fault. It's society's fault.
Al, are you hanging on or are you leaving us? Are you hanging on or are you leaving us?
Hang on.
What are you doing? All right, Al's hanging on. Buckle up, everybody. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Fires, much more on the Twin Falls shooting. Joining us now with respect to Michael Savage, the Savage Nation's Jonathan Savage, live from London. from Fox News Radio at 580 KIDO. Can you say that like I just said it? KIDO, 580 KIDO.
580 KIDO.
Well, you got to work on that a little. 580 KIDO.
I know. 580 KIDO. Is that any better?
Well, we're going to work on that, John Mounts. We'll work on that. We begin with thank you, though, for allowing us to have a little fun. We appreciate you. You're a very serious journalist, so thank you for playing along with the little people. Sure. Here we have it. We're going to get the big story out of the way, so hopefully we can have a happy fun time in a minute. Here we have the Chevron CEO warning the Iranian war conflict battle has created a real threat to the global oil supplies as gas prices climb. Jonathan Savage says he's going to lower gas prices, especially in Idaho.
I think it confused me with someone else. Or you're giving away my big campaign pledge before I even announced it. Mike Wirth, the Chevron CEO, he says the world energy system is fragile and that conflict with Iran is creating a genuine threat to global energy supplies. He says the risks are very real and that is stressing the capacity of the energy system to meet global demand. He's talking, of course, specifically about the Strait of Hormuz, also about how energy infrastructure has been damaged by Iranian drone and missile attacks over recent months. That is causing constraints to oil and gas exports. However, it is not constraining this man's company's profits. Chevron have announced a $12.2 billion quarterly profit. That's its highest ever and 5 times what they earned in the same period last year. This has infuriated President Trump. He says Chevron making too much money, ExxonMobil too much money. They're going to have to give some of that back to the public, and they better cut the retail price.
Yeah, I think he's the first president that's ever taken on big oil.
You will know better than me. Your presidential history is very much better than mine. But President Trump did say that he is wanting oil companies to pass on the decreases. He said that the price of gas should have fallen to $2.55 a gallon when the memorandum of understanding was signed, but that wasn't passed on in full. But yet oil companies very quick to put the prices up when the cost of oil goes up. Meg O'Neill is the chief executive of another company, BP. She says in response to President Trump's comments, the reality is we produce a global commodity and the product we sell hangs off that global commodity price. I don't think the president's going to buy that.
If you ever, God rest his soul, Sam Neill's series Riley, Ace of Spies, you would have found out the origin of British Petroleum, but you never did you? You never got to the Darcy affair, did you?
I haven't got to the Darcy affair yet. Then you're giving up on me too soon.
It's been a year. It's been a year.
But I think it's the next episode, though. It has been a year, but
it's been a next episode for you for quite some time. Yeah.
It has. I move slowly. We've got a heat wave going on, so I'm moving extra slowly. And also, in case you didn't notice, there was like 18 million hours of wrestling to watch over the weekend.
Oh, a great transition. So your thoughts on SummerSlam?
I thought that the main event of main events, Rollins and Reigns, was brilliant. I thought that was a great match. I really enjoyed it. And, I'm not the biggest Seth Rollins fan in the world, so that will tell you something. I thought they did a really good job playing into the history, playing into the WWE-style main event, which is kind of as good a WWE-style main event as you're going to see. I thought that was really good. I liked the women's ladder match. I loved the Chad Gable situation. I wish that match had gone on longer, Chad Gable against Penta, because they're both brilliant. And it was great to see Kevin Owens come back. Night 2 definitely beat Night 1, in my opinion, because I didn't think I mentioned anything from Night 1 there.
Yeah, well, you had Punk retaining. I know you're a big Punk fan. And Cody Rhodes, it's I don't know. I think they've got some challenges. Only 37,000 one night, 38,000 the next. as goofy as it seems, AEW seems to be putting more work into it. And, I remember when the Shield came out, they were good and all, but, that's like ancient history. Like people that are in their mid-20s, they don't know what the Shield was and who John Moxley is, except the plumber on AEW. So,
you mean we're talking like 2012 or something? Is that right? When the Shield were in their prime?
And they're doing this big homage to it, and I'm like, as someone who was around for that, and I hated them, but then I loved them, I couldn't even relate to it. I think that and I watched Raw a little last night, but I got to tell you, I love the Usos when they're the Stooges for Roman. I have something there with that, but everything when everybody's a stooge for Roman. But I'm trying to think of anything else. I can't afford WWE, so I just watched the replay. Chelsea Green, that was a nice push for her because she is so charismatic, and there's so much to do with her. I'm trying to think of anything else from night one that really popped. I can't say that I saw anything really.
I mean, the main event Hell in a Cell match didn't do that much for me, to be honest with you. I like Obafemi well enough, but it was a bit meh, a bit mid. I felt like it was nothing surprising or particularly good about that match. I will sort of say that actually I went to a wrestling show this weekend. I took my son to his first ever wrestling show. He's 9 years old. It was Rev Pro live in London 101 at Porchester Hall in London. And it was a good fun show. The thing that brought it down a bit, they're promoting their big show of the year, which is the Wembley Arena, at the end of the month, the day before All In, which is at Wembley Stadium next door. So it was all very much building up towards another event rather than being a show for its own sake. But it was good enough. I would say if you get a chance to check out Rev Pro and their live stream, give it a shot.
Yeah, I was watching this weird thing, and we're sorry for going into wrestling here mode, and I'm sure you're going to tell me when you have to go, but I love the psychology, whether it's professional wrestling, whether it's someone who loves firearms, whether it's someone who loves acting, that they follow their passion. And I was watching this weird show called Pro Wrestler on Indie Next, whatever, and it's a young Adam Cole, so young you don't even recognize him. And unrecognizable John Moxley. And, it's like all these guys that are in their 40s now when they were in their early 20s. And some of them made it, some of them didn't. But it was interesting. I go, wow, that is John Moxley with a full head of hair. That is Adam Cole. And them talking so naively about making it, which we all do. But then seeing them before they were stars. So that was the highlight of my weekend.
Yeah, very good. Well, the sort of show that I go and see in London, like the Rev Pro, you do see the future stars before the stars. You see Will Ospreay, for example. You see Finn Balor. So I will say that keep an eye out for Connor Mills. I think that he could be the next big star to come out of the UK. He's got a lot of charisma.
Finally, I didn't like how they've derailed my boy. Was it Trick? Lemon Pepper Stepper.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's a loser now.
Corbin, of all people. Baron Corbin, of all people. I don't know about that. I don't really see the point in that when you've got Trick Williams to push. Why have Baron Corbin beat him? What's he going to do in the future? Right.
Yeah. Well, we could go on and on. We apologize to the listening audience. It's all Mr. Savage's fault. He wanted to bring up his beloved pro wrestling. Me, I'm not a fan of the squared circles. Many of you can tell.
Of course. You know that.
John Mounts is in Seattle right now on vacation.
Is he? Yeah. So he's. You went. What was it? The Oregon coastline you went to, rather than Washington?
I did, but John Mounts is a lot like you, or you're like him. I try to be your friend, but you ever have people like Jonathan Savage and John Mounts, folks, where hey man, let's do something. Yeah, sure, yeah. You never hear from them.
But I mean, to be fair, it's not very easy for me to pop over for a quick pint.
It's all about commitment. How committed are you? I mean, I got Al in Ontario. Al in Ontario is going to tell us how stupid we are. I mean, do you want to say anything to Al before you go?
If he's going to tell me how stupid I am, fair enough. He may have a point. So good for you, Al.
Jonathan Savage, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
We appreciate that. Okay, back to Al in Ontario. You got a little send-off from Jonathan Savage there, Al.
Great. You know, what we have to really look at, Kevin, is our ability to choose. Okay, you are not your body or your hairstyle, but your capacity for choosing well, according to Epictetus. It's all about our capacity for choosing well. And I hate to say it, we really haven't been choosing very well in this country. And it's obvious when you look at our ability to put bad people behind bars, our political leadership, okay, you won't even call it leadership, lets these nutcases out. Okay, our educational system doesn't educate our people. So consequently, you have these people who let their they don't have any self-control, right? No man is free who's not a master of himself. And this shooter, he had no control of himself. I mean, we don't teach our people anymore. Okay, the humanities, you know, so these kids are just running wild. The people really don't understand what the heck's going on. And, you know, but they think they do, you know. It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And the people think they already understand things that they don't even have the slightest concept that they don't understand. They don't understand all of the various intricacies, for instance, with President Trump. President Trump is out there for us. There's no question about that. Now, why he does certain things and why he says certain things, look, these are so complicated. But what we do know is this. He's out there for us. That's what we need to know. Okay, and when you hear Stephen Miller say things, okay, you know, this is an understanding of exactly what is at the basis of our being able to get ourselves back to a point where our nation is not on fire, where we don't have people shooting at each other, where we don't have all these crazy things going on. What we need to do is get back and understand how to interpret the Constitution. Okay, we need to interpret it so it, you know, it's not something that is, you know, suiciding our nation, right? And our interpretation of the Bible. If we interpret the Bible to suicide our nation, then that's an incorrect interpretation also. Okay, I think that what we need to do is interpret what is in our best interest and in the interest of our progeny. But look I mean, the people just seem to be suicidally ignorant. I hate to say it, and they're not prepared. You've got to be prepared. It's like, you know, Tom Gresham was saying, you got to prepare yourself. Okay, you better have your fire extinguishers. You definitely have to have your fire extinguishers if you live in Oregon, because, I mean, you know, the whole thing has gone so crazy. And now we're seeing the greatness of President Trump and Secretary Hegseth. What they've come down now and said that our Air Force Academy and all the military academies, they need to rework their curriculum. So basically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be teaching things that are about winning wars. Okay, wow, isn't that a great preparedness skill, right? Learning about those things that advance strategic combat leadership, warfighting readiness, tactical and operational skills. Wow. Yeah, they're not going to be learning all this craziness, which is exactly what we got to prepare. You got to be prepared in this world. But we haven't been preparing ourselves. That's the problem. Okay, and when we see the greatness of President Trump, the greatness of our Secretary Hegseth, okay, they're constantly being attacked. Secretary Hegseth is being attacked by so many people. But what, you know, about what? Oh, well, yeah, he's taking out the leadership and of their sex or their race. No, what he's doing is he's looking at what happened, We have 2 ships. The Bonham Richard, it was burnt down by one of the crew. We have the attack submarine, the Miami, that was burnt down by one of the personnel. I mean, we have, the Eisenhower was on fire, the Ford was on fire. I mean, what we need to do is we need to get people in charge who are going to go back to the basics of discipline, because that's what you have to have. You have to have discipline. And sure. and also with a firearm, right? If you're going to carry a firearm, you better have discipline. You better understand exactly how that firearm works. And if you carry a Glock and you don't know how it works, you're going to get a Glock bite. Okay? And a Glock bite can be very...
right. Nobody wants a Glock bite. Al, thank you for the call. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I do appreciate Al in Ontario. And I'm going to say Al is not wrong. It's just how he delivers it. I do want to remind everybody, another day of smoky skies in southwest Idaho, so please be very careful. All of those who are outside working, hang in there. Hang in there. I hopefully help is on the way. We did get a break in the high temperatures from the 100s. I believe we'll be back in the 90s as we roll along. Do want to remind you, phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We go back to the fallout concerning the Twin Falls shooting. Fires everywhere. Apparently there was an arsonist who set the fires that has destroyed Spokane. Where do we begin? Oh, we'll tell you the number one movie in the world next. Kevin Miller, talk about an unrelated segue. 580-KIDO.
Being held on a $1 million bond. He is behind bars. The sheriff saying that Farinacci was found with matches and a lighter consistent of how they believe that this fire was started. Someone actually came up with the tip, and these charges are only for the Old Trails fire where we're standing right now. There are currently 3 burning in Spokane, in and around the area. Listen to what some people had to say.
Home is where your heart is. My heart's still here, even though all the devastation around.
I think the hardest part is looking at this, but not just mine, my neighbors that I love.
There's also a no drone fly zone because there were drones being flown in the area trying to get aerial footage.
And there we have it. Craig Herrera reporting from 580-KIDO, Fox News. We roll on, big day in primaries, not only in Michigan, but across the country. Gosh, I love primaries. Wouldn't it be great if we had competitive primaries? I know we do on the very local level, if you will, but nationally recognized primaries.
Cori Bush first won the seat in 2020. Then Wesley Bell took it from her in 2024. Bush, who was backed by the DSA, is trying to win back that seat. And in Michigan's 13th congressional district, DSA-backed Donovan McKinney will try to unseat incumbent Representative Sri Thanadar. And in the race for Michigan's Democratic Senate candidates pits the Democratic establishment against a progressive challenger. This one is making a lot of headlines. So Representative Haley Stevens is the more moderate candidate. She's leaning on establishment support from Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Senator Gary Peters, who she's trying to succeed.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good night for her. Apparently this Al Said is going to win. And we will see another Democratic socialist going toe-to-toe with a good guy, Mike Rogers, the Republican in that race. We'll see how that plays out. And the Democrats have a big problem. I don't know if that makes its way to Idaho, but these Democratic socialists, sons and daughters of Bernie, they're loony. And the crazy thing about this is what's loony today is mainstream tomorrow.
You know, you talked about your past positions that he keeps highlighting and, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef. And one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on.
By the way, there you go. Here you have liberal Caitlin Collins, who would never have gotten a job at Fox News. Daily Caller intern, goes on CNN. Some guy named Chris Wright likes her, creates a whole vision for her. And here we have this interview with this lib.
Was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
By the way, this is not a follow-up question. I just replayed the opening. Basically, here you have the liberal loon leading gubernatorial candidate in Wisconsin saying that she wants to cancel Thanksgiving. By the way, we have predicted that for the past 7 years that Thanksgiving is next. We'll get back to her in a minute, but first, Denny in Nampa with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Denny.
Good morning, Kevin, and KIDO 580 on your dial. Great program that Kevin Miller always does with fantastic callers. Al, I just want to hit one point that you did point out this morning that I grab on, and I hope some other people did. You were talking about how history repeats itself, and you also mentioned a good topic, the Bible. The Bible is what all of our laws from day one was formed in, from the United States Constitution, inspired by God. Inspired by God. George Washington and our other forefathers explained that. Did not say a particular religion, just said inspired by God, who blessed America, United States. 250 years, folks. Now, I want to get to some other point real quick. I know I'm short on time with Kevin on his program.
No, hey. You're not short on time there, buddy. Keep going. You're okay.
Okay. All I want to say is look back at our history. Yes, I came from California, so I got to repeat some of it. I can repeat when the Black Liberation Army went into a courthouse in Marin County back in the 70s. A woman named Angela Davis, who was a known black activist, had an African-American hairstyle at that time, which was very popular. Some still do it today. She carried a small semi-automatic in her hair and shot at a judge in an open court. After that occurred, many things happened. You had to go through detectors before you ever went in courthouses. We still do today. Got to empty your pockets. This was before TSA, before a lot of other things. Then you also had a group of Black Liberation Army people storm the Sacramento Capitol in Sacramento, California later. Oh, my God, we got to change legislation. They changed. Quickest time they ever changed legislation was 24 hours after that occurred. No guns in the Capitol in Sacramento, California. We also empowered the California State Police at that time with extra police powers. They were glorified security guards walking around, no guns. In the Capitol at the time, they were just nice token folks in security. I'm not putting security down. Security guard Mike, I love you and I respect you. And so I'm not going to put them down. I'm just not putting them down. I'm just showing some facts. But we learn from things. Okay, why do you have the military academy, Kevin? You're supposed to be reevaluating every situation that occurs in a possible known activity in the military, right? I don't care if you're Navy. I don't care if you're Marines. Don't care if you're Air Force. They try to study things to make things better. Law enforcement's the same way. Why do we have the Department of Justice? They're supposed to learn from things that happen. Bad things happen to people. Civilians have to be educated. You covered part of that this morning, again, on your program. The gentleman you had on this morning, he was going over that. People, we are citizens, but at the same time, we have to learn. We as parents, I've been a parent. I had a daughter. I had a son. And I know Brian's talked about it himself. He had to train his kids growing up, right from wrong. Mama tells Junior, hey, don't put your hand on the oven or the stove. It's hot. It will burn. I had to learn the hard way. So each and every one of us, we teach people things right and wrong. And that's the same way you got to do when you go out shopping. You got to be looking around. You got to have your head on a swivel. Someone's out after you every time. That's what I have to say, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. More coming up next. Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Do you believe this liberal loon? She wants to cancel Thanksgiving. What's next? Let's get you to work safely and on time at
November, should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made
yes, chef.
That was for the community
chef.
when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal.
Sorry.
You know, I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on, depending on how things go next week in your primary.
Wow.
Thank you so much for having me, Caitlin.
Wow, so much to unpack there. Let's go to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho, on 580 KIDO. Mark, how are you, and what is up in Eagle?
Well, not too much. Still trying to survive through all this smoke. Came back in with a roar yesterday afternoon. Yeah, that little snippet you played, it just shows more of the devil's little freak show minions that are out there, and unbelievably people are putting these types of cockroaches in positions of power in the country. I mean, you look at what's going on back in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I mean, in the central part of the country and east part, where these socialist freaks are trying to take over and destroy our Constitution from within. They are the enemy. They are the cancer. And the Demon Rat Party that has been backing them, that has been transformed. And I'm going to tell you, again, you have to have certain elements, a deep state that is aiding and abetting this, including your intelligence agencies, Kevin. Now, I want to get to the oil bit. Remember last month I had called into your show here at KIDO and had mentioned, I wonder what the second quarter profit's going to be for the big five oil companies. Well, it came out, and not to my surprise that I don't think anybody else's, how can you make 12 times the amount of profit that you did the year before? And there's a shortage, but tell me, did the oil companies pay more for that oil? No, I'm going to tell you, it's a rigged scam with their friends on the speculative market. This is something, and even when Trump, and I saw this on the Fox News deal on my phone app here just before calling in here to KIDO, Kevin, and saw that even President Trump has said that this is outrageous. He's a free market guy. I'm a free market guy. But no, this is a free market free-for-all to rip off the American public. And I had said it before. Every dollar that we got back from the Trump tax cuts, it basically got back out of our pockets and into the pockets of these Goliath oil giants that seem to do whatever they want. Their buddies on the New York Stock Exchange and on the open market, the global market, whatever, the speculative market, are just a bunch of damn conniving thieves. They don't care. Where's all this profit going? Exxon, CEO of Chevron and Exxon, where's it all going? Are you building new refineries? The only refineries that I've heard that are being built is a big one down there in Texas, and that was earlier in the year. Are they going in on California?
But they're going to argue that government regulations make it more difficult. See, and and I'm not cutting you off, but let me just say this.
No, go ahead.
See, I'm with you. I think the oil companies have been ripping us off for years. I am with you on that. And we have the oil company apologists that listen to this program, and they're entitled to their opinion, but I'm with you on this.
I believe you, sir. I know you have, because you've backed me up a million times in the past when I've talked about how we've gotten ripped off here in the state and how it goes up instantaneously as soon as they raise the price of a barrel. But then when it drops down, it takes weeks for them to lower the prices here. But this is it. This is it. And I'm going to tell you, folks out there here at KIDO, you know what? Trump's not going to have the power because I'm telling you, the corrupt judicial system, the corrupt intelligence agencies within our country, the corrupt military-industrial complex, the corrupt oil gangsters and Wall Street are what's running our country and what runs this damn world. And I don't know how you're going to stop it. I don't know how you're going to change it. Something's going to give sooner or later with the world. And, I mean, things are going to happen. And it's not going to be good.
See, but here's where the president hurts himself, because he's right about the oil, but there's so much noise about some of the nonsense that he does, which makes him who he is, that it distracts and dilutes the really important issues, like going after big oil, making sure that the American consumer that voted to elect him is protected. See, that's where the disruptor disrupts himself, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, when you want, and I hate to say it, this is the egomaniac part of Trump. When you want your own name put on the Kennedy Center, some of the stuff is almost like out of a Hollywood movie in a way, what Trump has done. I support him, I back him, but those are stupid things. I mean, yeah, he went after the egg companies for the price gouging and fixing. Heck, now, Kevin, I can go in for when 18 eggs was almost $9 for 18 eggs, a dozen and a half eggs at Winco. I go in there now, it's just like, what, $1.59 for a dozen eggs? I mean, it's like a little over $2 maybe for a dozen and a half. Yeah, the egg market's not the oil market. The oil market is a whole different thing. And I'm going to say they're going to plug their ears. They're not going to care what President Trump says. They're not going to do a damn thing about screwing us and continuing to screw us at the pumps. So that's all I have to say, but it does equate to the food issues, with transportation, everything else is oil-related, and they know it. There has to be another energy system out there, and I don't mean solar, I don't mean wind power, that is out there that is being maybe kept from us. I mean, some of the stuff in the military-industrial complex that's out there that comes out. And, by the way, did you hear about what's going on with the GPS system that the Iranians apparently, and I'm wondering where they're getting the weapon system for this, they've been able to manipulate the GPS systems for the navigation of ships over there. This was another Fox News story that was on yesterday on my phone app. And it's like, woo, what's this? It's showing ships that are supposed to be in the strait in the middle of Iran, in the desert. I mean, on land. So somehow they have found a way, and I'm telling you that the Iranians are not stupid technologically. They are getting help from the Chinese, I'm sure, testing out maybe some of this new weaponry. Yeah, it's screwing up the GPS systems over there and the guidance systems that they use. And, that's something we haven't all heard about here. So I don't know, something's going to give. This is going to have some dire effects, and I know what that Exxon CEO or Chevron CEO said about the shortage and all that, but you don't need to rip us off when it affects our pocketbooks and affects our livelihood, and especially the middle class or low middle class or people, the poverty ridden people are out there that barely can put a tank of gas in their vehicle to get to work and do what they need to do to just survive. You're screwing people like that, and they don't care. They're the Grinches of the world. I'm going to let you go on that, Kevin. You have a great day there at KIDO.
All right, much more coming up here on 580 KIDO. Let's get you some more information right now. It looks like Blanche is going to be confirmed, and then we have everybody on CNN talking about the president's approval ratings. It doesn't matter. Don't cross the boss. And the president does good things. The president does things that we may or may not agree with, but he's the president. And again, we'll have Dave Petzo on. We're going to have Phil Kerpen on talking about energy, more of your reaction concerning the tragedy in Twin Falls, how to protect yourself, and is it time to ban Thanksgiving? Liberal loons, they're loony. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. What it means to us in Boise. By the way, if you missed our interview with Tom Gresham, you can catch that on YouTube, catch it on the podcast. Just look Kevin Miller Show, KIDO, Kevin Miller Show, 580 KIDO, Kevin Miller. We seem to be linked, at least for now, and hopefully for quite some time. But go to this website on YouTube, First Person Defender, and they go through all sorts of scenarios. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're just trying to give you some free education, especially when it comes to weapons. Speaking of the perfect weapon, our friend Ron Grant joins us now.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And here he is. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, young man. How are we doing today?
Not bad. Here we are, Ron. We're taking a look at where do we go from here. The war's on. The war is off. The retirement has to remain. The income has to be stable. But these are tough times, Ron. What say you?
Well, the nice thing about what I do, Kevin, for myself and for my clients is we provide an income source that we can't outlive, out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino. So the ups and the downs of the roller coaster ride of Wall Street is not really going to affect us because that lifetime income is guaranteed. And if you're married, when one spouse passes, the other spouse is going to get that income for the rest of their life. And when they've passed, whatever's left goes to the beneficiary. It's so important to have a pension-like product in retirement instead of just a pile of money that you're trying to take out percentage of. The financial planners and the stockbrokers like to throw that 4% rule around, but that's highly exposed to market volatility, number one. Number two, income is at risk during downturns. And number three, you got to sell assets to generate income. And what if you have to sell short? Plus, don't forget about the fees you're paying, fiduciary fees and asset under management fees. These are all things that come out of your pot of money. So my clients and I, we don't like that. We like to have that guaranteed lifetime stream that we can't outlive.
And Ron, how can people find out more information on that, on how to get that lifetime stream?
Pretty simplistic. I put together an educational website that they can go on 24/7, articles to read, videos to take a look at safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how you can have a guaranteed income that you can't outlive, zero stock market risk, and most importantly, Kevin, legacy protection for you and your family. You worked hard. Some of you worked 35, 40 years for that money. Don't let it dwindle away in a pile of money somewhere in the Wall Street casino. So give me a call, 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Thank you, Bo. 580-5436, 580 KIDO. By the way, a first look here, ABC News landing the first interview with Jordan Salinas.
On the right-hand side of that sign closest to the road, and that's where I saw the individual with his rifle pointed at the vehicles.
Authorities believe those heroic actions drove the shooter from the scene and likely saved lives.
He seemed unusually comfortable aiming that rifle at those cars, and then as soon as some rounds started coming at him, everything changed. Immediately, all that bravado he had immediately crumbled.
This In-N-Out had opened just a week prior. The company...
Pretty wild. We'll see if anybody locally will get that interview, but props to ABC News for landing that interview. there you have it, the first sounds of a gentleman just not hype, not hyperbole, just breaking down what happened. We'll have more on that. Also want to remind you, we've got the liberal loons that want to ban Thanksgiving. Dave Petzo, a lot going on here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Eric in Cuna as we roll along. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, these liberals, I'll tell you, banning Thanksgiving. You know, I just find it silly that they come up with these crazy ideas. You know, they want us to agree that they are a 5-gendered gray alien furry, you know, and we're all supposed to agree with that. You know, now they're talking about banning Thanksgiving. I just don't understand why they have to push their garbage on everybody. They can ban Thanksgiving within their own family if they want to. I mean, you know, they can do whatever they want. This is America. You don't have to celebrate Thanksgiving personally, but don't push it on everybody else. Just shut up. People are really getting tired of it. And you know, who keeps giving them a soapbox? You know, we're hearing these sound bites. It's so stupid. You know, they just keep pushing it. It's really dumb. And, you know, I was thinking, you know, you were talking about the oil companies. I don't know if you ever heard about that guy back in, I want to say it was the late 70s. Maybe it was the 80s. He invented a car that ran on water. And I think it turned the water into hydrogen. But it was all a complete self-contained unit. And he drove it across the United States, I want to say. I've seen a lot about him. I can't remember his name, though. But he really did invent a car that ran on water. And the oil companies came in and they tried to buy him out. And he refused. And then he disappeared. And his car and his plans and everything just disappeared. So, you know, the oil companies, they're out to protect their interests. I don't know. Have you ever heard of that? About that guy, Kevin?
No.
Yeah, look it up. It's real. He invented a car that ran on water. I believe it turned the water into hydrogen, but it's a real deal. He really invented a car that ran on water. I mean, he made plenty of videos of it, and you know, he's out there. I mean, the videos and the truth of it's out there. It's real. He really invented a car that ran on water, and then he disappeared. But before
you ever seen the movie Tucker? You ever seen the movie Tucker?
Tucker. Oh, yeah, the car. Yeah, I think I seen that a long time ago when it first came out. The car that had the headlights that turned around the corner. And
yeah, and they have that now. But what was the deal with that? It was GM, the big three. They did everything they could to destroy that guy. They did Howard Hughes. And the car was better. Everything was better. You can't help but think that's what big industry wants to do. Big industry wants to make sure that, you know, something that replaces big oil doesn't happen.
Yeah, they don't want us to live prosperously. You know, that's what it's all about. Yeah, it's kind of like the medical industry. Similar. You know, they don't want us completely healthy. You know, that's why we see. I mean, how many pharmaceutical commercials do we see when we watch a show? All these stupid drugs they come up with and got side effects of the craziest side effects you ever heard of. And they sit there and they spell it out in these commercials. And, you know, it's kind of similar. Doctors don't teach people how to live healthy by eating. And the foods that we eat and natural supplements.
Right.
They're all about pushing the petrochemical pharmaceutical stuff. And that kind of started with the Rockefeller, you know. That's what that was all about. Started with the Rockefeller. They, you know, when he kind of created the medical industry, he wanted people to buy the petrochemical pharmaceutical, and he put, you know, homeopathic doctors out of business. It's similar, you know. They don't want us super healthy. They want to milk us like we're cows. You know, they don't want us to have cheap energy. They don't want us to be healthy. You know, they want us right where they want us. You know, I mean, look at COVID. That was a big joke. I never even had one COVID test either. Not one. I didn't even trust the test. You're not sticking no cotton swab back into my brain through my nose. No thanks. Yeah, I never trusted it. I had a lot of people around me, thinking I was stupid for not getting the jab, and family members, friends, coworkers. And luckily I worked at a place where they didn't force it on people, and I still work at a place where they don't force it on people. And I own a small business. So, yeah, I would never take that vaccine. And now everybody realizes that it was all a big lie, the whole thing, just a joke. And then you got that little smirky Fauci sitting there pleading the fifth. He should be arrested. That guy should be sitting in prison. But I hear the music, Kevin. You're the best, brother. I love your show.
We love you, Eric. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. From Money Matters, catch him every Saturday from 8 to 10 right here at 580 KIDO. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, Kevin. Surviving the smoke. Wish I didn't have to say that. I love this time of year. But
wild
just
times,
like everybody
if
else,
you will, yeah.
we get through it. Yeah.
Wild times.
Another reason to hate Oregon,
I feel so sorry for the people in Eastern Oregon. They don't have, really a voice. And I think that's why the Greater Idaho movement has gotten so much traction there. I mean, basically, it would be like if Boise ran the state of Idaho. You have a lot of good people on farms and stuff, and sadly losing their homes and their livelihoods.
Well, it's true, Kevin, and it's true in a lot of different places. It's unfortunate in our country that for whatever reason, all the population bases are deeply, deeply blue. And the way I always think of it is that the real United States of America, what the liberals like to call flyover country, but it exists in every state, even their, quotes, not flyover country. It's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and the rest of Pennsylvania is blood red. It's one of those things that it baffles the mind that over 90% of all counties are red, and I just it's a real weird dynamic we have in our country for sure.
All right, Dave Petso, what would you like to lead with? I have my own agenda, but we will give you the first serve, if you will.
Okay. I'm going to give you two things, Kevin, that were very interesting to me, and I know one is like I'll just get it out of the way, and that's the earnings that are coming through are as anticipated, unbelievable. The market is loving them, and it's incredible to see the moves in some of these companies. Microsoft, for example, giving up for the dead, so to speak. Certainly was in last place of the AI companies, and now they're suddenly doing well, really well since their earnings announcement. So again, we're in the middle of earnings season. That's what the market is going to be most focused on. But one thing that is really interesting that I think is different, so I got that one out of the way. But what is really interesting was last week when this kid, 24-year-old, Wall Street gave him billions of dollars, let him borrow it, okay, because he's just so smart at 24 years old. Can't make any mistakes. Let's lever up and run with it, right? And blew up the entire hedge fund. Had to sell it off. All the people that got in after the initial rush lost all of their money. It is a stunning thing that this is rinse repeat on Wall Street. But here's the interesting part of that. They've gone through this and with this kid, and again, of course, there's no apologies. Oh yeah, here we're Goldman Sachs, we're JP Morgan, we lost billions of dollars. Oh well, it's no big deal. But what it caused in the market was a big deal. Stocks ran up higher on 4 times leverage of a very large one, and with all these double and triple levered ETFs and things like that. And I know I'm getting in the weeds a little bit, Kevin, but just think leverage. And then it's unwinding itself. But what are people saying? Oh, the Federal Reserve meeting didn't go well. This didn't go well. It must be oil prices. It must be the Middle East. It must be this and this. Most of the time in the market, it isn't that. It's stuff you don't see underneath the surface. We look for headlines and don't realize sometimes this up and down movements are caused by a hedge fund unwinding positions. In this case, yes, they're unwinding positions because they're going out of business. It's an interesting dynamic within the markets, and we just lived right through it. Again, Wall Street, 24-year-old can't make mistakes, and we're going to back them, and it really made a lot of turmoil last week.
Well, young is the new old, as you know.
Yes, it is. We're born wise, apparently, so there you go.
Can I go deep with you on something, if you don't mind?
I'll give it a try, yeah.
Well, it's not very intimidating. You deal with millions, and I'm dealing with pushing buttons. So I have the utmost faith that you can handle this, Dave. But I want this is where I apologize in advance for giving you something way out in left field. And no, it's not about the housing market, which for the first 5 years of this program, every day, every segment of Dave Petso and Kevin Miller was the housing. But it's about Micron.
You've expanded your boundaries now, though.
Through your tutelage, sir. However, it's about Micron, and it's interesting how New York is dealing with them, and of course they've got lawsuits that they're dealing with as well. And here is this from this called TechSpot.com, a hot potato. Micron's $100 billion semiconductor megafab in New York is facing another legal challenge. This time, opponents aren't attempting to overturn the entire project approval. They want 2 recently issued permits annulled, claiming that they could allow PFAS, forever chemicals, into the Oneida River without enforceable limits. They're having a lot of challenges in New York, and as we've detailed before, that benefits Boise. But what do you make of New York handling Micron very differently than Idaho handling Micron?
It's why people like to do business in Idaho. It's one of the treasures here. We have all of the things that are in place for people who want to become great entrepreneurs, and who knows, maybe someday found a company the size of Micron. And that is the reason Chobani came here. It wasn't because we're a zero tax state. There's plenty of those. And people didn't move from California just because they want to pay zero taxes in Nevada. Many of them are going to Montana and Idaho, which are moderate tax states. They're not zero, but at the same time, the most important thing that many of these states do, and Idaho does it in spades, and that is to pave the way for business, get out of the way. This is classic. Isn't it classic? It's classic California. It's classic New York. It's classic blue. I'm sorry, I don't mean to beat up on Democrats all the time, but these are your hometown. This is your home ballpark. New York and California are your dream tickets. It's your dream ticket to socialism, baby, and high taxes, and government can do it better. They can't build a train with billions of dollars. They've got a train to nowhere. They get nowhere. It hasn't even been built yet, and this is over a decade old, and they haven't rebuilt the houses. You go to New York, and they can't even start building a fab. Business is for, New York is for business. No, you're clearly not. You're clearly not. We're going to be done with this fab before they break ground.
Another threat to Micron from the Idaho Statesman, Mark D. And this is the reason why I hesitate is, sometimes when you and I, before we became virtual AI, Dave Petso and Kevin Millers, we would meet every week, and we go back and forth, and you go, this coffee stinks, but it's free. I go, yes, you're right about that, at the broadcast center. But you were involved in litigation, and nobody wins with the lawyers win with litigation. And the only reason why I bring that up as a frame of reference for you, we have from the Statesman, a Texas firm claims Micron stole tech powering the AI boom. An Idaho jury will decide. Texas-based Advanced Memory Technologies is suing Micron Technologies, claiming that Micron illegally uses 5 of its patents in some of the Boise chipmaker's most advanced products. Those are the chips that power smartphones, computers, data centers, and AI. And that will be decided in Ada County. What do you make of that one as well? And again, your future, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, could have been decided in a more detrimental way, but you went all in on litigation, and I can remember a very nervous Dave Petzo many years ago.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, that's true, and it's really hard going up against a company because their resources, no matter what your resources are, they're dwarfed by corporations. And that's the same thing here. What we're seeing is two corporations that they don't care about a few $1 million at all. They don't. Otherwise, they wouldn't have private jets and things like that. They spend millions on those all the time. I'm sure there's a list of reasons why that's really important and not using commercial. But all of these things are, when it comes right down to it, what they're really saying is they're not necessarily trying to win money. They're trying to get people to quit stealing their technology in their minds. Whether Micron is or not, that's something for the courts to decide. Whether they copied it. All these things are ongoing. I think the number of patent disputes would be uncountable since Micron's beginning, whether they were suing somebody or the other way. That's why corporate lawyers are always at work, and there's not just one lawyer. There's a whole team of them, and sometimes they need outside help as well. It's an ongoing thing, particularly, Kevin, I think in semiconductors because there's so many patents there.
You know, what is the thing about this? And I go back to a couple lawsuits, and you had Apple versus Microsoft. And if that had gone Apple's way, there'd be no Microsoft. And then, again, for sports fans, you have Donald Trump. One of the few things that Donald Trump lost at that he never really recovered from, the NFL never wanted him to own a team. So he got into the USFL, the original USFL in the mid-'80s, moved it from the spring to the fall. They never played in the fall. Everything went into a lawsuit to prove damages. They actually won the lawsuit, but they were only awarded $1, ending the only legitimate threat to the dominance of the NFL. But litigation is a funny thing. Just because you get a settlement doesn't actually mean you win. But, you know, just going over historically these major lawsuits, especially Microsoft and Apple, imagine the world that would have been different if Apple had prevailed.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know. It's so many things. IBM giving up, and then trying to sue back against Microsoft. All these things that are just on and on and on about how much different. It's a parallel universe almost, Kevin, right? It's just something, a completely different outcome on that would affect and spin out into so many different ways we can't even imagine. It's interesting. Interesting point philosophically that you bring up of what would all of these things look different if George Washington had been shot, instead of going through his coat 4 or 5 times that the sharpshooters couldn't hit him. What if he'd have been hit? Where are we? And it's just, and when you go into business and all these other businesses that have monstrous effects, they have employees all over the world. It's really one of these little things that seems like all these things can flip on something seemingly small, but it's not. And a court decision certainly isn't a small thing. But these are amazing outcomes that have changed the world, not just those companies and all the people in it. It's interesting, that whole butterfly effect, I'll call it, right?
Yeah. What again, going into court is very, very well. You could describe it better than I could. I would imagine a surreal experience, if you will.
Yeah, it's not fun at all. It's so expensive, and you feel like you're on your own. I happen to have one other team of people that didn't bow out of this group of 150, but that's a small group going against the Goliath to us, and it's very lonely, very long, and it's a process that you can imagine somebody like me that has been an entrepreneur my entire adult life. You just make decisions, you move forward, wrong, go ahead, break things and move on. And you just keep moving. To get into a legal system is, mean, you just can't. What do you mean it's going to take a year? That's absurd. There's nothing to decide here. This is ridiculous. Yep, Year later, you're still arguing, and you're spending time with attorneys at hundreds of dollars per hour. And when you've got 4 of them in a room, that's an expensive moment.
More coming up with, this is a joke, Mr. Expensive, Dave Petzo next. 580 KIDO, the one I've been saving for you for the past couple weeks. I don't want to go soft on you, and it's not looking good for your boy Elon Musk, or is it?
I don't know, Kevin. That's a really good question, and I'm going to start with on that. That really is. I think that's interesting. It's. I think they're going to pull all these companies together. What that's going to lead to, whether it's successful or not, is all going to depend on how well they all work. All these engineers are working together, because I think they're going to solve multiple problems. Is it an overreach to run to space at this time of development? Perhaps it is. But was it an overreach when Elon Musk started making electric cars? Of course it was. I don't know that I would bet against Elon Musk at all. I think that it's we have to wait and see. And I would certainly bet with him. And what this type of thing looks to me like is the IPO didn't stay red hot, so I give up and I move on. And that causes disruption all the way around of any Eli, network company, right? It's going to cause disruption. But I cannot imagine pulling together Tesla's engineers, the rocket scientists, and the Boring Company, the Neuralink, and putting all those people, at least in the same building, if not in the same rooms, right? And what they're going to be able to do collectively with AI and everything else, I would not bet against him at all. And I get that people are now, and they're going to have some shares are being unlocked right now, meaning the people who've been working there became overnight millionaires. They can sell some of their shares, and that'll hit the market. The market's anticipating that. It's not that's going to happen. It happens this week for a big chunk of them. So it's anticipating that. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, robotics and all these other things with a bunch of engineers, whether it comes from the SpaceX or not, they've got so many levers to pull here. I'm kind of excited about the future company all in one. And they certainly have tipped their hand that they want to. They let the rumors run. And they certainly, at the last quarterly announcement, were talking about contemplating doing it.
Well, it does go to show you that all of a sudden what goes up doesn't always go up all the time. And, I mean, this is where you have to figure out, is this a long-term play or not? And, now many people are speculating about the AI bubble. And we remember the .com bubble and the bubbles. Your thoughts on people questioning AI? And we have had, again, we're so used to everything going up all the time. It's like when your favorite team loses, it's a big shock to the system. But that's why it's a game. That's why it's the market. Nothing's guaranteed. But your thoughts on the fluctuations within the AI stocks?
Yeah, it's real interesting right now because, again, we're all of Wall Street headlines, like I opened with, that kid trading was in the AI space, particularly. And so chip stocks and how weak they were. Then all of a sudden you run out there and go, yeah, here's what people are worried about. They're worried about the circular agreements, meaning I'll buy your chips if you loan me money. All those things that are not really business deals. And so, well, they are business deals, but you know what I mean. They're not really real sales. They're not outside sales. So people are pointing to that. They're pointing to it's just too expensive. The cash flow is all gone from the Mag 7 now. And then they find out it's this kid that's been trading, and Wall Street found out that he was long this. They start shorting. It goes down. He has to cover with 4 times leverage, and the stocks plummet. And then we make up reasons why. So, Kevin, when we go through periods like that, you have to acknowledge that there is these stocks have run up 10x, sometimes more, in short periods of time, and that is ridiculous. We need to take some air out, and those are good times. They don't feel good at the time, but it's good for the markets and healthy for all of us. But at the same time, it's not always in line with all the reasons we're being told. Is it a problem for these Mag 7s that they're borrowing money instead of just being cash flow machines now? The answer is yes, but that's all being invested in the future, and Wall Street has to come to that terms. Do I just want some company that's making lots of money but not reinvesting in the future, or is it worth paying more now for the future growth? And that's where you go through those periods. I think it's a real and honest discussion to have, but this recent disruption was very much caused by one hedge fund and wiping him out. And Wall Street smelled blood in the street, and when they do, the sharks circle and take the opposite side and kill them. And that's exactly what happened there. And it did cause a lot of disruption in that space. But I think the argument is far from done. They still have billions, trillions of dollars to spend on this outreach. Are we really going to go to space? There are so many things to be thinking about in regards to that. So the argument will continue in different ways, Kevin. But it is fascinating. When you talk about all the bubbles, I love reminding people of that. We go through bubbles, and it's not a good idea to sit there and say, well, this is just like 1999, because nothing will be exactly like that, for sure. And you say, well, it rhymes with it. No, it actually doesn't. These are real companies making real money, and so they weren't back then. And so these types of things we've gone through still take and crush the market and take it off 50%. Take another one in 2008 and 9 and take another 50% off. We're still at all-time highs today, and the market for my lifetime has averaged 11%. And for 30-year-olds and 43-year-olds and 89-year-olds, it's 10% plus. It's a long, long time, even in spite of those. So when we go through them, we need to just take a deep breath. And those people that bailed out recently because they saw the turmoil, and I got to get out now and do this, I'm sorry, but that turmoil scared them out of what really seems to be a secular, not a cyclical move in all of this AI. Again, people should not be overdone in a particular area. You made that point very early on in today's program. Being levered and being out there on the cutting edge, and everything's got to be in chips and highly volatile things. That's ridiculous, and that is not with the principles of good principles of investing. That's gambling.
Well, you and I have joked about this. It seems like that's the way of the world. Everything's going with these, markets and prediction markets and all sorts of things. But let's get a little. Again, I love this because you give me the smirk when I try to get serious with you. So that having been said, a serious issue here is obviously the war. And looking at your beloved Wall Street Journal, the headline, Dow leaps, oil slips after percent says Iran deal could be close. We live in very interesting times. Your thoughts on the market? You would think that if we were at war with Iran, which we are, we would be tanking the markets, but they continue to go up, and then the oil, and then, can you give us this teeter-totter relationship we seem to have with the markets and oil back and forth during this war?
Yeah, the war here and oil prices is good for political commentators and to a degree market commentators, at least for the initial, because then they can get on and tell you exactly what's going to happen, and you'll know that they'll be exactly wrong, because it happens every time. It really does. It truly, truly does. Oil prices will cause a spike of inflation, and then when it doesn't, they move on to something else. We have a giant economy, a giant global economy. We are energy independent. We were before the attacks launched, before oil prices went up. We still are, even more so. So the idea that we're somehow going to be held hostage by Iran because the strait can't be opened is just not true. It is not going to destroy the economy. It's not good for the economy. Don't misunderstand me. But it isn't going to destroy it. So we take a pause. This isn't good. Turmoil in the world. Not good. Let's wait a minute. So, 3-4 days later, market goes, it appears that crazy people with nukes is a bad idea, maybe that's okay that we stop them from having nukes. And we're not losing the war, so that's good. That doesn't make the war good, but then we calm down a little bit. And as it progresses, we find that energy prices were slipping anyway. Not because of these phony, we have a deal, we have a ceasefire for 24 hours, and then they'll blow it up again by, shooting a drone at a cargo ship, and oh boy, that's going to be the end of the end of the world now. And it isn't. And we just are kind of like, it's almost Lucy in the football. Well, it kind of is. It feels that way. If this hurts Trump, then the left loves it, and I think it does hurt Trump. We're back and forth. It's it feels to me a lot like he's Charlie Brown over and over and over again, because he talks too much. But the point here is that at the end of the day, Kevin, the markets get over and look at the facts. They don't say, well, because I'm a liberal and I hate Donald Trump, or I'm a far right lunatic and I hate Donald Trump, or whatever it is you hate, and you want to go tear it down. And he's the pinnacle of that. And so nothing he does is correct. That's not what people do with their money. They don't. We have liberals at our office. We have our clients, and I promise you, they listen all the time. They are happy to see their portfolios go higher. They're not going to vote for Donald Trump, but they're not lunatics about it either. And they're simply going to say, okay, this is going to be, and that's Wall Street. Wall Street isn't full of right-wing people. It's full of a mixed bag. But in the past, we know this, Kevin, you've talked about it. The hedge funds were all for the Democrats. They were the ones that supported the Clintons so strongly. And so it is not, if anything, Wall Street leans left, not to the right, but not with their money. They're going to invest as it is. And that's what I think is a clear picture. It's not that these people are wrong, and they certainly haven't been wrong. The economy continues to bump along. What they're investing in and what's really going well is, of course, the future technology developments. And that's true 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's true today. And that's what's really winning the race. And that's why stocks are doing so well, in spite of
anything else you'd like to add as we get ready to bid you adieu?
Kevin, I'm with you, though. I have to tell you, this is, I'm not disagreeing with, this just seems like it's weird. The market goes up hundreds of points, and we haven't resolved this war. The economy's not on fire. People are supposedly worried about this, and this. And I think at the end of the day, what it is that, because we're right in this season right now, the earnings are stunning. They're stunning. And people want to be in front of that and own the greatest corporations in the world. And they are here in America. And in spite of an economy that is barely growing, we are seeing massive increases like we've never seen. Honestly, I don't want to sound like Trump there, but we have never seen the kind of corporate profit increases that are not off of a recession that is happening right now, and happened last quarter. It's happening this quarter. That's what you're buying when you buy the U.S. stock market. It is not this thing that moves by headlines. That might be for the day, for an hour, for a moment. It might not even be the headlines that is correct about why those movements occur. But over time, companies that are growing profits by 20 and 30% are going up. And that's what's been happening. And I think that's exactly, they're just ignoring everything else. I want to be with those companies that are whose earnings are going up 20, 30, 50% per quarter. This is stunning stuff.
Dave Petzo, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Kevin, have a beautiful day, and we appreciate you. Thanks for keeping us informed. Have a great day.
You as well, our great friend Dave Petzo, 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Always check out the podcast on YouTube, Google, Schmoogle, Spotify, everything else. We look forward to giving you the best content that we can. Obviously, our prayers continue for those impacted in Twin Falls. Do want to thank Tom Gresham, host of Gun Talk. Sundays right here, double features on Sunday right here at 580 KIDO. You get you from noon to 3, then 6 to 9. And it's important. And Tom talks about protecting yourself and doing it the right way if you missed that exclusive interview with Tom, who happened to be in, because he lives in Idaho, happened to be visiting, we reached out to him yesterday and got up and said, I'm ready to go. He was on our 6 a.m. segment. You can catch it when we publish the YouTube and the Apple podcast, the Google. You can watch us on Apple TV. The only reason why I keep saying YouTube is thanks to Mrs. Miller and Bo, I have become this YouTube savant where you go, I'll just grab something. It's like Netflix, but there's just so much more content, and it's not just, it's just limitless. So we're very happy to be on YouTube. And like I said, if you're like me, maybe you're not, I put it on like I do a podcast, but I listen to it. So, and thankfully, as Lars Larson says and Kevin Miller says, a lot of us have faces for radio. We move on. Let's go to Kent Goldthorpe, who joins us now on 580 KIDO. And it's been a while, and I'm glad that you could make time for the little people.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, I spent a little more than a week with my wife up in Alaska on a cruise, and that was a lot of fun. Had almost no internet, no phone, so it was very peaceful. And
could you actually be finding peace in your life this time? The old Kent Goldthorpe, I'm going to do this and politics that, and I got to do this. And you took an Alaska cruise with your wife. This is progress.
I'll tell you, when we got back, my Milo the Wonder Dog was in shock because we'd been gone so long, and picked him up from our daughter and brought him home, and he wouldn't even go to his crate for a week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, by the way, I really appreciate that, Petzo. I'm one of his biggest fans. I was one of his dad's clients back in 1975 when we moved to Idaho, and I was just doing a little trip down memory lane. When I started buying and selling stocks in 73, the Dow was only at 850, and now it's over 50,000. What a ride!
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Tea Party Bob remembers those days as well.
I'm just we're just enamored hearing about memory lane with Kent. We've heard about his trip to Alaska, his dog, and the stock market. This is compelling stuff, folks.
Okay, well, when we got home, everything was on fire, and we went from pristine air to air where down in Cuna there were pockets that were over 400. That means, you can cut the dang air with a knife. And what a difference. What a difference. It's a lot better today, but our air purifiers have been going nuts. I'm glad I don't live in Spokane where my daughter's had her go bag in her trunk now for several days and watching all those hundreds of homes vaporize in those flames. It's been a little nervous for my wife and I. We got some hopes for her, but one piece of good news I got this morning is my son assigned himself the case for that alleged arsonist over there in Malheur County that started those 15 fires. So got a Goldthorpe on the case now, which cracks me up somewhat, but I think it's a good thing.
Oh, you could just keep going. I don't really have to. I'm not really a part of this is Catch Up with Kent segment here.
Okay, well, then, it could be that my kid was a pyromaniac and running around the county throwing matches.
I was thinking of you, though. I was really thinking of you. You guys, like everybody else, you're raising taxes. The Meridian streets are horrible with the chip sealing. I can't even drive in Meridian anymore. It's so bad. I was going to say it's making Boise look good, but nothing can make Boise look good. So, it's back to work for you, buddy. It's back to work for you. So, let's begin with you do this wonderful chip sealing that I say stinks, and then you leave the chips on the road for days and days at a time. I don't know how many Safe Light Repair people are going to be used, or Patriot Glass, or anybody else. It's probably rock gold for them.
Well, I thought you were a capitalist. You're all for people making a profit. These guys have to sell some glass once in a while.
I'm a populist. I was a populist before that. I was a populist with Buchanan in the 80s. So I'm always wondering,
socialist.
No, I'm a Buchanan and I God rest, he's still alive. God bless him. Doesn't write anymore, but I think he quit when he was like 85. But that guy, I love Patrick Buchanan. But back to this, I mean, why is everybody raising taxes? Ada County's raising taxes. You're raising taxes. Boise's raising taxes. Meridian's raising taxes. And the only people that really seem to care are the people listening at 580 KIDO. We're the only ones that have a problem with you tax and spend people.
It's like I was telling somebody in higher rank than I, biggest mistake I've made in the last 12 years was voting to lower your taxes because of the horrible increases we've had in costs with the inflation and the growth and everything else. We just kept getting further and further and further behind. Every time we raise taxes to the max, it increases your tax about $5, $10 maybe. And so now you're at the same level property tax wise for the roads, not for schools, but for the roads, you're at the same level as you were in 2021 because we lowered your taxes in hard dollars.
Yeah.
Not inflation adjusted or anything else.
You lowered the service too. Look at how bad the roads are.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to go to work tomorrow at the commission, and I'm going to insist we put together another chip seal crew and have them do the roads around your house every stinking day, every year.
Well, good, because half the time I see those guys, they're all they're doing is goofing off, and driving brand new vehicles, while the rest of us are driving old cars. Yep, that's our tax dollars. That's where they're going.
I got a 2004, a 2007, and a 2008.
This isn't about you. This is about this. Yeah, but maybe ACHG should get some of those old cars, and we'd like them then.
Well, we do have a little program that tells us when we're about to turn the corner as far as being a liability instead of an asset, and then we sell them. And as you
so you're selling something that's going to be a liability.
Yeah, if the mechanics have to have it in the shop half the time, that's a liability. And when some of these new vehicles anymore, they just aren't building them like they used to. Subaru's excluded. I love Subarus. Anyway, so you drive a Subaru, and I'm jealous.
I drive a 10-year-old Subaru and a 20-year-old Camry. Why? Because you people raise my taxes. Then I can't get anywhere. Welcome home, Ken.
Compared to what I drive. Holy cow.
Oh, not my Camry. Not my Camry. My Camry's 20 years old, bro.
Oh, I said 2004. Guess what?
Oh, mine's 2006. Whoopee. Anyway,
okay.
Kent, hold on. Here's one. And for people listening at 580 KIDO, this is the old men belly aching. Well, must be nice to be able to afford to go to Alaska. I can afford to go to Caldwell. Big money, Kent.
I didn't see you on attending the beach in Oregon either.
I wasn't on the beach. I was working.
Probably paying $300 a night for a motel room. Wish I could afford that.
Well, you could. You went on your big cruise.
Trust me.
No.
$300 a night. It was. I guess it was a little more because we did get a stateroom.
Well, a stately room for a stately politician.
Well, at least he's got a wife that he would rather have enjoy the trip than have to peer out of a porthole to see a whale. Oh well.
What was that like? Did you like the Alaska people? Did the Bushmen try to convert you?
There was nothing I didn't like about Alaska up there. I know they didn't try to convert me. I'm already way past being converted, but I love my wife enough, and she tells me she wants to be around more people than 500 people in Ketchikan or whatever it is. But so we live here. I would live in Mackay, Idaho, where there's under 600 people if I had my druthers, but she'd leave me.
Well, this is Kent doing shtick again, everybody. I mean, this is tough. Do we continue on with Kent, or do we go to Dylan? I mean, this is a tough call here. Do we go to Dylan, or do we stick with Kent? Because Dylan, when you have Dylan on, you never know what's going to happen with Dylan.
Well, Dylan should have called me when he was running for office, and we could have made a deal where I could send the ACHD chip sealing crew up to Boise County so he could get elected and you could be happy. How about that?
I just wish that, it's so funny. Everybody else kisses the boots of the politicians. I don't. And I think that if you're driving on Linder or Meridian Road or anywhere in Meridian and the rocks have been on the road for weeks, it seems, that's just not not right, everybody. I don't know why they keep the rocks there. I don't know why they leave the rocks there. It should be they put the rocks on one day, the next day they pave, and we're good. Maybe I have to tell them how to do their jobs.
Well, I could tell you how the job is done, but that would be way too boring and not very good content, and I know what that means to you.
Well, I know. I mean, we've had such stimulating content right now.
Okay, well, I did get a prank pulled on a bunch of Japanese tourists, if you want to hear about that.
No, Kent. Kent, thank you for the call. Let's go to Dylan. Dylan, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO. I hope that... Oh, Dylan hung up. And here we go from Kent, who is going to tell us about a prank. It's a good thing we don't have serious issues that happen here in Idaho, right? We have Kent reviewing his review and commentary of what it's like to go to Alaska, and then his dog's happy to see him. Dangerous, dastardly, disturbing disruptor Dylan, who hangs up on us when we pitch to him. Poof. Welcome to the program where everybody's a victim. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Energy and fuel and everything else. Do want to thank Kent Goldthorpe for calling in. And as we move along, by the way, more and more people are recognizing the role of Jordan Salinas, who went out and did his very best to save lives in Twin Falls. If you haven't heard this yet, here it is. He discussing what it was like on liberal ABC News.
I peeked around the right-hand side of that sign closest to the road, and that's where I saw the individual with his rifle pointed at the vehicle. He seemed unusually comfortable aiming that rifle at those cars, and then as soon as some rounds started coming at him, everything changed. Immediately, all that bravado he had immediately crumbled.
Police say the shooter was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound near the restaurant. No word on the motive for the shooting, but deputies say his family is cooperating with that investigation.
No, it's a very good point, because Tom Gresham made that point earlier this morning where he said, Kevin, this happens all the time. Once these perpetrators get a taste of their own medicine, they don't continue to engage. They end their lives. They kill themselves. And we talk about people dying. No, people were murdered. People were killed by this 24-year-old person who, if you watch the video, it's really like watching a horrific movie, is it not? More on that in a minute. We go to traffic at 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Still heavy and steady on the freeway coming eastbound out of Canyon County into Ada County into the Meridian area. If you're headed up Highway 55 north of Horseshoe Bend, they're going to be doing road work there. Closed down to one lane either direction, so expect delays if you're headed to McCall. Mike Miniger's Auto Body has been serving your collision needs from minor dings to major accidents since 1982. Call Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutoBody.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
As we've shared with you before, KIDO Talk Radio, the proud home on 580 KIDO of Lars Larson, who continues to work very hard for you every afternoon from 4 to 7. Then there's Sean Hannity. And the Clay and the Buck, and this is, it's just amazing when you take a look at what Clay Travis comes up with, along with Buck Sexton. And I'm just sitting here looking at his X feed, and when he's talking about the latest that he talked about yesterday was paying $10 million to take on the WNBA champions, Las Vegas Aces, and a boys' high school state title team of my choice. If the Aces beat my team, I will give them $10 million. And then he's also talking about that the streaming and everything would go down would go to tunnels, tunnels for towers or towers for tunnels. I'll give you the name in a minute. I apologize for that, but it's just so disruptive here that. And then he wanted to buy a WNBA franchise and call it the Nashville Balls, I believe, which was pretty wild, if you will, when you think about this. So let's see. This tweet is going up to end up with over 5 million views and over 100,000 likes. I'm not kidding. This game would be the most watched basketball game of all time. And we see this happening again and again. So again, the Clay, the Buck, following Kevin Miller today at 10. Only on your home for Clay and Buck, 580 KIDO. What will they say next? From American Commitment, Phil, how you been?
I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you?
Well, we're always big fans of yours here in Idaho, and we all have them. And obviously, your latest op-ed concerning credit cards has a lot of people talking.
I don't know. Does it? It's the credit card regulation issue is always a really interesting one. I didn't even know that's what we were going to talk about today, but I am happy to talk about it because this is one of these issues where you would think the Republicans would be like, we're against regulation, let the market figure it out, and Democrats would be like, regulate, because that's how most issues break down. But the credit card issue is a little different because it's the big merchants that want regulation because they want to squeeze down the fees that they're paying and pad their own bottom line. And so historically, it's been kind of like bipartisan on both sides because it's been the banks against the merchants, against the retailers. But we tried this. We tried putting price controls in Dodd-Frank. We did it on debit cards, and it was a disaster. It killed basically debit rewards programs for the most part. It eliminated most free checking. And so the idea of doing it for credit cards, too, I mean, you want to kill people's rewards programs, kill fraud protection, a lot of the other features that they have. I mean, what I like about the way the credit cards are now, and I know some people get into trouble with too much debt and everything like that, but what I like about the way credit cards are right now is it's so insanely competitive. Usually when you open a credit card, you get a couple $100 for free. They give you a bunch. It's just so competitive, and that's really good for consumers who can use them responsibly. So I would caution against putting regulations or price controls on.
Well, my bad on that one. Let me rephrase it. What we're supposed to talk about today: the Biden bungling of the economy, sir.
Well, that's a good topic too. It's interesting. You look at, the pain point for everyone right now still is rising prices, especially now that, energy prices have jumped because of the Iran war. And it's easy to say, inflation is high again. But compared to where we were under Biden, it's still a tiny fraction of what it was. I mean, inflation peaked at over 9% under Biden. It's running in the 3s right now. Obviously, we'd like to be in the 2s or even lower. But 80% of all the inflation we've had since 2001 was when Biden was president, not when Trump was president. And so if you're upset about how expensive something is that you've got to pay for, and I think that's all of us, send 80% of your anger in Biden's direction and 20% at Trump, because almost all of the inflation occurred under Biden. And of course, we had weak economic performance overall under Biden because we had so many regulations. We had bad tax policy. Under Trump, we fixed almost all of the economic fundamentals, all these things that were holding us back. And we were actually on the path, I think, to very rapid growth until, the president thought we had to enter this war. And of course, that sent energy prices back up, and it's been a bit of an economic setback. But, we've got to put these things in context. We got to remember how much worse things were when we were following Democratic policies, because, the vast majority of the inflation that we're suffering is baked into prices now. It's not Trump's, it's Biden's.
Our great friend Phil Kerpen joining us from American Commitment. We take a look at, Phil, we always love talking to you about energy and the like. What's your take on the war and what it's done to us, the good and the bad, as far as our energy policy?
Yeah, it's been, look, I mean, our policy has been very successful, and I think it's softened the impact of the war in significant ways. I mean, our domestic production is continuing to set new records constantly, and, I think we've now, in liberalizing some of the shipping restrictions, we've opened up a lot of new routes, and that's also, I think, softened the impact. But look, I mean, if you launch a war in that region of the world, you're going to have a major impact on oil prices. And of course, that's what we've seen with world prices going up dramatically into the $100 range, and they were in the, the 60s and 70s. And, we can't sugarcoat it. Everyone feels it. Everyone sees it. You go to fill up at the pump and it's, $3.50 or $4 a gallon or whatever it is. And, most of the country was in the low twos before the war started. And so we felt it. And of course, that also, it moves through the whole economy because everything has to be grown, shipped, or manufactured, uses, gasoline and diesel as an input. And so it reverberates, it ripples outward. And, even when we have good tax policy, good regulatory policy, we've done a lot of things, a lot of moves in the right direction under this administration. You have an oil price shock, and it can sort of eclipse that, overwhelm it, at least in how people perceive things, if not, in the economic reality, because it does drive up the price of everything. And that, of course, erodes, the value of, everything in the economy. And you look at the GDP numbers that just came out, the nominal numbers, the numbers before adjusting for inflation, they were really good. But, the inflation was so high that it ate away, and it made it sort of a pretty low growth quarter in real terms, 1.5%. And so, my concern, I'm not a foreign policy guy. I'm not a defense guy, Kevin. I'm sure you have other guests who know much more about this, that aspect of things than I do. But they've got to come up with an exit strategy and explain how we're going to end this thing and get back to normal, because otherwise, markets are forward looking. We're just going to continue to have these high prices. And it is a big problem. It's caused a big economic drag when, I think we would be booming right now with all the good things that were in the big, beautiful bill, the other deregulatory policies. I think we would be booming right now if not for the war. Now, I know the president does not want to, sacrifice his strategic objectives for economic reasons, and I don't think he would do that. But we got to figure out how to win and exit because it has not been good economically.
No, and Phil, you and I have been around. It's amazing to see the 47 years of the Iranian government, if you will. It's just the impact that they continue to have, even though they're so narrow-minded, and call them what you will.
Yeah, I would love to see Iran become a normal country and not fund terror all over the world and, all the terrible things they do. And, the Iranian people are great. Persians, they're fantastic people under a horrendous government. And, if we could actually turn them into a normal country and free them from that regime, that would be an amazing thing for them and for the world. But I don't know if you can do it with an air war, and I don't think there's any appetite for a ground invasion. And so you got to kind of figure out what is the actual achievable objective and what's the path to exiting there, so that we don't just, pay this big price at the pump and not accomplish anything and sort of drift, which I think is what a lot of people are worried is happening.
Our great friend Phil Kerpen joining us at 580 KIDO from American Commitment. Finally, Phil, what about the Biden plan with drugs and prescription drugs that has been talked about both by Democrats and Republicans?
Yeah, I think it's been a total disaster. You look at, we've had dozens of clinical trials canceled, and the whole idea behind it was they said, look, we're gonna cut Medicare prescription drug spending dramatically, and we're going to use all those savings to pay for all the things in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And it didn't work. They've actually increased Medicare spending pretty dramatically, not cutting it, because the reforms were so poorly designed, and they're being ripped off by the insurance companies that somehow just increase the amount of money that they take in Medicare. And these redesigns that they claimed were going to save money have done the opposite. And so it didn't save money, but what it did do is it told every drug manufacturer, look, if you come up with a super successful drug, it's going to be subject to a price control. You're not going to be able to get a return that justifies the investment. And so what happens? You cancel a bunch of clinical trials because they don't pencil out anymore. And so we're not saving money. We're actually spending more money, and we're getting fewer cures developed. I don't know how policy could backfire more spectacularly than what we're seeing from, Biden's drug policies.
Phil Kerpen, anything else you'd like to add? We appreciate you focusing me finally on the correct topic. I appreciate your patience.
Well, what I like to do is talk about whatever you want to talk about, because what you're interested in, what your listeners are interested in, might not be whatever I most recently wrote about. So I go wherever you want to go. And if I say something dumb, that's all right.
Phil, we appreciate you. You have a great day, sir.
All right, Kevin, have a good one.
Our great friend Phil Kerpen joining us from American Commitment, AmericanCommitment.org. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO.
November, should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. Now, I always think...
Yes or no, are you going to cancel Thanksgiving? This is a liberal loon running for Wisconsin governor. Dylan joins us now with Kevin Miller on 580-KIDO. Hello, Dylan. We built you up. We were ready to go, and then you gave us the Heisman.
Someday we'll figure out those perfected phone batteries, and they'll last forever. But we have a little phone issue, Kevin. I appreciate it.
It sounds more like operator error.
Oh, I 100% agree. I should have bought a different phone that wouldn't let its batteries run out. But some quite the topics. Those are big topics this morning. Fires, of course, Twin Falls, and then oil. The national news every single day. I would love to hear from Dave Petzo on something though. If
well,
he was
hold on. Here's the deal with Dave. You can call into Dave, and you listen to the radio all the time, Saturdays from 8 to 10. He'll be more than happy to take your questions.
I've called him certainly before because I really appreciate Dave Petzo. I really do. But we talk about this oil, Mark, the watchdog of Eagle. You know, why are the oil prices, why don't they come down so fast? Well, I would love to hear somebody explain the enormous weight that happens of the U.S. petrodollar. You know,
we'll get that.
The U.S. petrodollar. There may be a few benefits of us being in Iran on a giant economical scale.
Don't worry. The oil defenders by Al and Tea Party Bob will be calling in to respond. You'll get your defense of big oil and big gas coming up, sir.
I mean, if we're so independent, are we independent of our own, I don't know, toxic creation of the petrodollar? I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's also not a wonderful thing at the same time. But I can't help but go to Twin Falls, not for the fact that it's an obvious tragedy. It's terrible. It's happening all over the place. Idaho is changing. What people aren't noticing is the ridiculous infighting for self-promotion that's happening within the so-called conservative groups of Idaho about who's, it's like never let a good crisis go to waste. Within hours after that transpiring, there were memes coming out with this image of Jordan Salinas, one wearing a cowboy hat and cut-off jeans, and one wearing a baseball cap, one wearing a flat, outlaw Josie Wales style hat. And they're not even listening to national news over years and years and years of this, which is, why don't you take a breath and give it 5 minutes before you start selling T-shirts in the name of helping somebody else, when ultimately it's a giant self-promotion scenario. And we have a state representative going cross with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, calling them out for how much money they make. It's like the ridiculous Idaho infighting is disgusting, and all in the name of a tragedy. Like, they're just so excited. They're so excited that there was another.
So it's, wait a minute. So it's public knowledge, and we're not gonna take a side on this, because I had somebody send me. You're gonna love this one. I had someone send me an email ripping me for having Tom Luna on talking about the Defense of Life Act. And not that they disagreed with Tom, but they wanted somebody else on who will remain nameless. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's very toxic, unfortunately, at the local level. So allegedly, or show me the X post, there was a state representative that ripped the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Who was that?
So Heather Scott.
Oh, our old friend Heather. Yeah.
Heather Scott reaches out and she's basically defaming the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, saying, do not support these people because of the quote-unquote salaries. Because of the salaries
I did see that post,
make.
Yeah.
Of all of the BS that I went through in the last year, of all of the people that I met and all of the toxic individuals that is Idaho, I have to say Greg Pruitt is one of the ones that's maintained a steady interest in what he's doing. I don't know everything, but I'm like, are we serious? What is this benefiting the overall collective? There's such a divide, and you can see the players, and it's in the name of a tragedy. None of these people are doing it from what I believe the victim or the scenario. I mean, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, it's obvious why we would get involved. And Greg has done some wonderful things in the name of the Second Amendment here in Idaho, and we should have it. But Heather Scott,
Representative Scott, no, that's the problem. You'll have people that will tell Heather Scott that, you and I ripped her and she'll be mad. I've known Heather Scott for years. And like a lot of those people, sometimes they are, they hang out with us. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they believe, but who knows? Let's see. I would have to agree. Be vigilant. I go look at some other salaries and expenditures of those so-called nonprofit activists across the state. And, we had Greg on. And unlike a lot of these critics, and look, they're entitled to be critical. This is America. I've seen Greg build that group up. I've seen Greg be called a terrorist. I've seen him be a target, he and his family. But, that we do have, in defense of Representative Scott, who has legitimate bona fide conservative credentials, she has a right to air her opinion, does she not?
Oh, I 100% agree with that. But here's the problem is we have two sides of a conservative in Idaho that are voicing their opinions without collaboration. They could be right on both sides. What happened to the Kevin Miller unity breakfasts? Right? Where is this? Like, okay, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree, but where's this unification?
Hold on. Let me just say this, and a lot of people, and most of you that listen to this program, you know me personally, and I really appreciate the praise that you always talk about. And I'm going to say that the success of this program has nothing to do with me. I'm just the guy riding the dragon. But I will say this, that there are entities, people, politicians, activists, that saw this great potential that we put together when we had 500 people at a debate watch party at a State of the Union. And they decided that they were going to attack us, and we brought everybody together. We had the young Republicans, the state party people that were whatever, and they saw this, and they've tried to replicate it. And since they have driven us away from being involved in state politics and actually local politics as well, we've seen their turnouts diminish greatly because it was never about promoting Kevin Miller. It was about promoting the community. Now, anybody can do a radio show, anybody can run for office, but it's the few that get it. And I love highlighting people like you, Tea Party Bob, Hello to Rocky, and others that get the secret sauce. And in the old days, when I lived east of the Great River, I would say, if you ain't about me, there's no we. Now, I reverse that. If you're not into we, there is no me. It's a collective. And more often than not, people make it personal. Now, it's funny. I knew a person one time that actually organized an assault on a drive for charity Why did that person do that? Because they had their own charity drive, and no one was allowed to touch this charity. And I can remember they called the armed forces on us. They called elected officials. They called business people. I know I was in the building when they said, batten down the hatches. I won't even say the group because this would reveal who it is. They were coming to get us. And so many times people have said to me, well, Kevin Miller, if it's not about you. No. I will always support charity because God tells us it ain't about us. But whether it's politicians or others, when they make it about them, they lose. And Greg is always about the people. I'm sorry to filibuster on your time.
Oh, I thank you for my time. It is surreal watching. If you know, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but I do pay attention to the social media because that's the fastest heartbeat to what's actually transpiring. In the example of the shooting, you'll notice that, you're not going to see a CBS, NBC, ABC on the day of, and barely Fox News because it doesn't promote the agenda that you can self-protect. But you see very quickly the real videos of what transpired. And so to hear you bring these issues to the table, which I think you keep a good high-level balance to it, and to hear the community, to hear everybody's inputs is a full circle of the connection. And I really appreciate that, Kevin. I'm an addicted 580 KIDO fellow with you, my friend.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. And, you being that, younger end of the millennial spectrum, because you're not like Bo, you're not a Generation Z or Alpha or whatever those young people are that are currently bullied by you millennials or the old boomers like myself. I could see where you would be on social media a lot.
Well, isn't it interesting that those that are the representatives of the Gen X generation are either boomers or millennials? There are no Gen X's. I've never up as a boomer like old man Kevin, or you're instantly a millennial like little Dylan.
Hold on, but it's funny. I've always been a proponent of our age cohort, but I'm starting to actually see the compliments when the boomers and the millennials are calling me an honorary boomer. So I am fascinated by it. But here's the idea, and as I was telling Kent Goldthorpe, politics are great, and it's wonderful if you can make a difference. I think the new mayor of Caldwell is outstanding. He gets it. He's got a lot of work to do. But he's a rare bird. And others are, it's just, I think you're better off. I will tell you, I spent the weekend in Emmett at the Senior Center. And my priorities were well in line with a healthy mental and emotional outlook on life. And I don't know if many other people, except the people that experienced what I did for 3 days in Emmett, can get that. And that's really what it has to come down to. Less performative and more service-based projects. So I don't know if that makes a difference. And, to you, obviously, we go back to the Twin Falls thing, and you have people trying to move on from that. How can you move on from the videos that we saw? I mean, I'm sitting there in Emmett watching this go down and going, wow, this is something you would see like in, I'm sure you're familiar with this. If not, it was a movie that came out before your time called Heat with Al Pacino and all those other great actors. And, it was just like those shootings that you see in movies.
Yeah, it's a real thing, Kevin. Combined Boise, the Greenbelt, Twin Falls, you're seeing more things transpire. Everything about your show, like, let's get rid of Thanksgiving. Are you kidding me?
It's crazy.
Let's get back to a moral community, a unified community. Like, we are so divided even in our own supposed sides that This is happening right in front of our face, and the community is what protects itself. It's not your government. It is your community. The community like the Boise Rescue Mission, that's protecting homelessness. It's the community like those that are, being philanthropic for whatever reason that it is. And, getting back to mom and dad, a man and a woman and a family. And it's pretty concerning. So I appreciate you, K. Millie, Boomer Man.
Boomer Sooner. God bless you, Dylan. You're a good man, and you should know that. So until we meet in person again, and by the way, Dylan's had one of those rare times where he's seen me in my secret lair at the Star Albertsons. It's a very enlightening experience, is it not, where I hold court at the Starbucks?
Yeah, I mean, you get about 2 minutes with Kevin Miller, and then you get 15 minutes with everybody else. It's wonderful. You get to meet all the nicest people in the whole world.
Exactly. Dylan, Old Arms of Idaho. Dylan, Old Arms of Idaho. I'm not paid to say that. Thank you, sir.
Take care, Kevin. Love you, buddy.
Love you. Great friend. The Great Idaho Show, by the way, as Dylan continues to learn and help us learn as well. 580 KIDO, your home for Fox News right now. Fox News Now. Good morning. Those stories and more on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. And before we hear from some of our other contributors, a couple of things I want to go over here, and just talking about a dumb person of the day. And, whether it's people that are on testosterone or need to be on testosterone or think inappropriately. I was talking to my friend, I don't know if she's awake right now, but she works at Albertsons, Nancy, not to be confused with Diana at Albertsons or Jennifer at Fred Meyer, and these are all people that are very friendly. Very outgoing, bubbly people. They're very nice people. And Bert and the gang, and of course the commander, which we ran into him and his beautiful wife last week. Kent Goldthorpe goes to Alaska. I go to Fred Meyer, Albertsons, and Winco. But we were talking about just what is and what isn't appropriate when you're talking with people. And we're all sometimes. And I guess you could say little girls are like little boys as well, when the little girls are chasing little boys and such. And I've always said this. I think some guys never get out of being a seventh grader or an eighth grader, that awkward stage in junior high. And, in the old days, you'd chase girls, you'd pull their hair, you'd do all sorts of things that are inappropriate today, write them notes, or they'd write you notes. Yeah, notes, not text. But anyway. And really, isn't that just what a text is? A note you used to have and save and all sorts of ridiculousness. Could you imagine, and again, this is grandparent territory, maybe parent territory, and it was a practice in my day where you would save the notes from whoever you were involved with or enamored with. Certainly the girls saved the notes, but could you imagine going back in time and reading those notes, or those people that saved those notes and what their kids would think of them? Oh, I'll love you always and forever. Yes, I'm sure you will. But a point, and this is really a public service announcement about how to act appropriately. You don't need that from me. We're getting ready for a big speech today in Napa, and I said, well, how do you want me to dress? And they said, wear your work clothes. I go, business casual, which is long sleeve shirt and shorts, kickball casual. But anyway, and it's ironic that all of a sudden we have the House Ethics Committee investigating a North Carolina congressman. But if these allegations are true, what is this guy thinking? And it comes down with older people having inappropriate relationships with younger people. And that could be whether it's physical or emotional or whatever. You have to say, would I act this way in front of my spouse or in front of these people's parents? So we'll tell you about this North Carolina congressman in a minute, but the ethics reports about Chuck Edwards. Now, remember, this guy's a congressman in North Carolina, one of the most popular states, blah, 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 blah. But the allegations are that he engaged in persistent, unprofessional, and inappropriate conduct towards two young female staffers. So he would text them. He would show up at places, pay for their vacations. Chances are that if you didn't get a bonus at work and your boss paid for your vacation, that's a giant, enormous Greg Ferreira uh-oh. Apparently, the congressman, when he wasn't worried about the budget and the Defense Department, the wars in Ukraine, repeatedly, allegedly sent them late-night texts and bought them lavish gifts, intentionally deleted particularly inappropriate messages. What was this guy thinking? Are you crazy? Why would you do these sorts of things? Maybe the guy isn't happy in his personal life, but you know something, and I don't know if this would work for Kevin Miller, but it might work for you. Anytime that you're thinking about pulling the, not hey man, but hey baby on somebody that is years and years younger, whether it's flirting with a coworker, a waitress, or what have you. I remember I would go somewhere and it would be like being in an Old Spice or English leather aftershave commercial with someone, and there'd be a young person, and then I don't know if it's a superpower or I'm being overly sensitive. When I sit there, I always try to put myself in that person's position and make it easier for them because they've got a tough job. And so the person next to me would be, pouring on the charm and talking to them. And I'm like, what are you doing? But some people just can't turn it off. Now, I give Tea Party Bob a hard time about that. I call him the Gem State Casanova, but we do that in tongue in cheek. But, if I would ever catch myself doing that, well, I have a great solution for that. At least for me, I just go look in the mirror. I go, And in reality, if you're blessed to have a family, if you're blessed to have one of the, over 500 people in Congress, why would you ever, ever, ever destroy that? Which is crazy when we're thinking about that. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But think about that. Here you have a congressman who is supposed to be representing the people, and and now the public embarrassment of this. And then you got the guy in Ohio who says that he didn't beat his wife. When that's the first sentence out of your mouth, Max Miller, no relation, although, it's a heck of a name. Max Miller worked for the president, that sort of thing. Was one of these young guys. Apparently he had a problem with somebody in the administration. She's filed a restraining order against him. They want him to bail out. So if you're the GOP right now, think about it this way. This is almost like Plattner Unhinged, because now all of a sudden you have the libs going, well, look at your guy. You got Max Miller, who married Senator Marino's, is it Marino? Bernie's daughter, the senator from Ohio that said the F word, right? And I apparently he's accused of doing all sorts of things. There's a massive custody battle going on, and he could lose his seat. This guy in North Carolina could lose his seat, so all of a sudden we're down to 3. But the most ridiculous item of the day happens to be this one, courtesy of CNN, and I believe I saw this live last night, where we have a liberal loon socialist that is not down with Thanksgiving.
You talked about your past positions that he keeps highlighting and, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on, depending on how things...
Yeah, no follow-up on that one. No follow-up on that one. Basically, she wants to destroy Thanksgiving. We go now to Ron Grant. He loves Thanksgiving.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And once again, good morning, Ron.
Good morning, young man. How are you doing today?
Not bad, Ron. Let's talk about you and what do you do? Ron, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I help people have a happy retirement, a long retirement. I help them have money in their retirement is what I do. I've done it for, this is my 30th year helping people. We sleep at night. My clients and I sleep at night knowing that our money is 100% protected and safe. But more importantly, I want to make sure that we all have a guaranteed lifetime income that we can't outlive. And of course, the Wall Street casino can't say that. Markets up, markets down, markets sideways. Now, my clients and I participate in some of the upside of Wall Street, but never the downside. And every year there's a gain, we lock it, and we go one way, and that's up. But the most important thing that I provide is a lifetime income for my clients. And if you're married, when one spouse passes, the other spouse gets that guaranteed lifetime income for their life. And then when they've passed, whatever's left goes to the beneficiaries. So it's important in these times, almost any time, Kevin, to have an income source that you can't outlive.
Well, Ron, let's say people say, well, that sounds too good to be true. I want to put Ron Grant on the spot. I'd like to have a conversation with him. I don't want Ron dictating stuff to me. You hate that when people... Ron, do you talk at people? I know people don't like that. Do you talk to people? Do you listen?
You have to listen, Kevin, because that's important. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We listen, ask questions, listen, and then we help design and create a program for them. And, knowledge is power, and that's what I give my clients is the knowledge to have the power to make a decision to keep their money 100% safe where they can't lose the principal or the gains. So when we get together, we're going to ask questions and listen, and hopefully we can put something together for you. I'm not right for everybody. There's nothing right for everybody. But I'm definitely right for a lot of people, especially if you want an income that you can't outlive.
Ron Grant, we appreciate you as always. Got any tips on how to deal with the smoke?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so sad. These fires are going on. It's bad. It's a little bit better today, but it has been crazy. So, yeah, just if you don't have to go outside, stay inside. It's not healthy for sure.
Ron Grant, till we meet again.
Yes, sir. Until we meet again. Thank you.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
There we have it. But, and again, I am not dismissing bad and inappropriate behavior. But isn't it strange? Isn't it weird that now we've got the North Carolina guy, and maybe this has been percolating for quite some time, and this Max Miller guy. Now, the allegations against him are really disturbing. President Trump called on Max Miller on Monday, raising concerns about the Ohio Republicans' reelection campaign following allegations Miller assaulted his ex-wife, Emily Moreno, and their 2-year-old daughter. Two sources directly familiar with the call confirmed to CBS News. This is wild. Apparently, top House Republicans and President Trump have declined to weigh in on whether he should remain in office. Boy, this is a tough one. Max Miller, and look, we hope and pray that this doesn't happen to anyone that has to deal with this at our level, at any level. But what happens when it does? Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Domestic violence allegation. Let's go to Concern and Emmett. And Concern, I have been waiting for you I went to Emmett not once, not twice, but 3 times. Was at the Senior Center. Heard wonderful reviews about the creamery there in Emmett, and had a wonderful time in Emmett over the weekend. I thought of you many times as I took that right and then left onto the Senior Center there. And amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed. I was up doing some fishing. So, but that's yeah, the creamery. We do the creamery every Saturday. So, just about. So yeah, I wanted to call about the oil situation. It behooves me, and it's just total ignorance. I just don't know. I'm hoping someone on the show can actually explain it. Maybe a Dave Petzo or somebody like that. But I saw in the news the other day, Chevron had a record year again of profits. And it's just like, why, if we don't take the oil from that area, do we have to pay such a high charge? And it's because we belong to OPEC, and it's like an international organization. I don't understand why the United States doesn't pull out of that OPEC deal and just do our own thing. Get our oil from Venezuela, we refine it and things of that nature. But why do we always have to pay the prices? And when you see Chevron making a big bonus, it's like, where's the common sense in this? And I just hope Trump's working on it, or somebody can explain why we get trapped in this deal when we don't take their oil. And then I was also going to comment, on the Thanksgiving. These people, they hate the United States. And I feel that the reason they hate the United States is because this is one nation under God. And when you think about the God of the Bible, you think about there's a judgment someday. And we need to do our best and be on our own. And because there's consequences to the way we act, the way we do things. And these people don't want to be accountable for anything they say. So they hate the conviction inside them, and it's just like, these are God-hating people. They may say they believe in God, but it's not the same God. It's whatever God they chose to do. But I don't want to get too preachy on that, but over and over again, we hear these people hating the United States and what it stands for, because it stands for one nation under God, and we know what that means. So until we get back to that society and start realizing that there's something in the future, and we just don't go in the ground and die, we're going to have these problems. But yeah, sorry I missed you. I caught that, and I thought, well, it'd have been nice to know Kevin was in town. I would have zipped over there and said howdy. So.
It was I was all excited about that when I thought of you again as I passed the Albertsons, and before that I had been in Emmett probably 4 times. I called a high school football game there years ago. Had been there, and the restaurant Elements. And years ago, I think Terry from State College, Pennsylvania was with us. Myself and Tea Party Bob met Linda from Emmett. I don't know if Linda is still with us, but we did a fundraiser for her, so we gave her some money. And I'm trying to think. I was there for the Alma Anti-Frack seminar. I was there for Linda, and I was there for, I believe it was the Chamber where we did Letters from Home. So, but I almost surpassed my Emmett visitation all in one weekend. What a great place you have there.
Yes, we enjoy it here. It's kind of like stepping back a little bit and backwards in time, but it suits us just fine. I get out of the hustle and bustle. So,
well, you have the mountains that protect you. It's.
Oh yes.
You get to decompress from all the congestion here.
Exactly. We hate going over the hill. We call it. Going over the hill. Just get right into traffic. And 16, boy, over the hill starts really fast. So, but
it does.
Show, Kevin, just thank you for all you do. And I wish I would have known, and I would have been in there and said howdy. So, but
one day we'll have to meet at the Senior Center for Bingo on Friday night.
Okay. Yeah. Are you serious? Go there for Friday night? No.
I was there. Well, they take it very seriously. Concerned. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate that. Wonderful time this weekend in Emmett for a very, very off Broadway production. Again, sometimes bad things happen. And sometimes we lose control, right? Sometimes we lose control. And that's how domestic violence situations happen, right? That's the great thing about age. Hopefully we can check ourselves, men and women. So here you have this story in Ohio. Here is Matt Gutman, who his first radio interview was with me years ago. Now he's a big star. filling in on the CBS Nightly News, and we're going to play this clip concerning Ohio. But the lesson here is, and I believe Nancy Grace used to tell me this, that family law is the most dangerous type of law to practice. She would take defending criminals or prosecuting criminals any time over family law because it is dangerous and it is brutal.
Now to a scandal that could potentially alter the balance of power in the House of Representatives. A Trump-endorsed House member running for re-election in Ohio is now fighting domestic abuse allegations from his ex-wife, who is the daughter of a Republican Ohio senator. Here's CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns.
I had nothing to hide, and I have nothing to hide now.
Republican Congressman Max Miller is refusing calls to resign his seat, facing allegations from his ex-wife Emily Moreno, the daughter of Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, that he physically abused her and their 2-year-old daughter.
I had never harmed our daughter. I also want to address the allegations of domestic abuse. I categorically deny abusing my former wife.
Senator Moreno said his former son-in-law, who's running for a 3rd term, shouldn't be serving in Congress and that he needs serious psychological help. He's a danger to my daughter, and I hold my breath every minute he has custody of my granddaughter. Miller, who has not been charged, disputed allegations made by Emily Moreno in court filings, including that he caused their daughter to break her collarbone. In a text message chain Miller released, he asked Moreno, "She is in your care. Do you know how this happened?" Moreno responded, "I have zero idea." Miller also denied claims he put a gun to his ex-wife's head or poured hot water on her.
It was horseplay in our kitchen. I sprayed water at her from the sprayer attached to our kitchen sink tap water.
President Trump today said Miller, who served in his first administration, was a good person.
It's a very sad thing, especially when you know somebody so well, to be going through that. But it's accusations, and I'm going to let them figure that out.
All right, Caitlin, switching gears here to a big test for a divided Democratic Party.
There we have it. Much more on that in a minute. Let's go to Lee Joe, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Lee Joe.
Hey, good morning. Yes, that's typical. When a family breaks up, the mother will do all kinds, well, not all of them, but they'll accuse the father of all kinds of things just to take advantage and to be spiteful. And I have a suspicion that's what we're talking about again. Like you were saying, family court in Idaho is the most corrupt court there is. It has the greatest possibility to have the wrong outcome, and it's a massive game of manipulation. So we get to see it open in politics in the public. That's a family tragedy, is what that is. So, real quickly, be careful what you ask for, folks, on the fires. I know we say that these fires are because of lack of grazing and the lack of deforestation, using the wood and things like that. We have areas that are just not commercially viable for either. They're covered in sagebrush and what have you. And when they catch fire and the wind blows, this is what's going to happen. And we can't say it's nature. We've got arsonists getting arrested all over the place, and I'm wondering if their name is Mamdani or something like that. But what you're asking for is more government to come and fix something that can't be fixed. On some of these range fires, we could do our best to get rid of cheatgrass, but 5-foot-tall sagebrush is 5-foot-tall sagebrush. And then whenever a rancher goes and burns or accidentally burns a piece of that, hoping to get more grassland the next year, like they did over